Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku became Amazon King and had massive harem? Part 1. This story is Izuku the Amazon King by Stillwell03. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button, as your one like motivates me to bring more stories, and subscribe the channel if you are new so you won't miss our latest videos. It was a stormy night in the Caribbean for a small class field trip. The members had consisted of 14 male students, their teacher, and 2 chaperones who were parents of 2. Above deck, the boat they had charted out on was facing seas that even a skilled sailor would fear. Below deck, however, a certain green-haired boy had tried to sleep the danger off in hopes to avoid self-panic. This boy was Izuku Midoriya. To many, he was simply the nerd of the group, with academic skills being one of the only things he truly excels in. Physically, however, there is much to be preferred by him. As he slept, Izuku began to dream of a strange woman in an abnormal outfit that looked as if it was tribal by nature. Since we do not have much time, I shall get to the point. My name is Nana, and I am the leader of a group of Amazons. Young man, it is time for you to save my people and everything that they hold dear. Wait, what are you talking about? Izuku was confused as anything before the woman's image started to fade. Find my people, young man, and learn how to save them. Only you are able to. Izuku tried to call out for her one more time before hearing someone shout, "Abandon ship," to pull him out of his dream. Izuku sat right up to see the door slam open to his friend Iida. Midoriya, we need to abandon ship. It's going down. Wait, what? No time to explain, we need to leave now though. He didn't ask many more questions, but followed his friend out to the lifeboats. Is my mom okay? Everyone's on board except for us, let's move. They ran to the other end of the ship where their classmates and chaperones were preparing to head out. Izuku. The boy's mother Inko had tightly gripped her son in fear that something bad might have happened. What happened? We hit a rock or something. We had to evacuate or go down with the ship. His teacher Aizawa stated this as he cut the lines supporting them to fall into the water. Row. Everyone grabbed an oar or something and started rowing the best they could. Several were panicking as they were tossed and smacked around by waves. We need to get into the eye of the storm. That's the only safe spot we can be right now. Izuku saw a bit of light to try and get everyone to row in that direction. Unfortunately, the sea wasn't allowing them this opportunity without a fight. For what seemed like hours, the group fought to get near the light with it in their grasp. One of their classmates, Bakugo, looked over to see the little midget of their class Mineta stop to look at something. What the fuck are you doing, twerp? Row. He didn't speak, but pointed to something. Those that saw him point saw what it was to immediately stop rowing as well. We're dead. A giant wave that covered the sky to them was coming directly at them. As the first to come out of this shock, Aizawa shouted to everyone to try and get them ready. Brace for impact. The wave swallowed their boat up and separated everyone. Izuku found his way up to the surface, looking around to see nobody around. Mom, Mr. Aizawa, Iida, Aunt Mitsuki, Kachin, he shouted, with his face being constantly smacked by wave after wave, keeping him under. Eventually, he started to lose the ability to fight and sink under the water. No. Can't stop. He blacked out with the thoughts of his dream coming to his head. The next morning, a group of women were hunting on an unknown island. Alright, what do we have? A woman with purple hair and strange earlobes began asking while showing a few rabbits. I was able to catch a few fish, ribbit. A girl with dark hair and a frog-like face mentioned showing a few fish. I found some berries, which are poisonous, Mina. You want these kinds? A girl that had black hair and a rather adult figure stated this to a girl who had pink skin and abnormal horns. I got nothing. A girl that seemed to be invisible stated this with there literally being nothing in her hands. What about you, Ochako? The purple-haired girl asked a brunette who was looking on the shore. Something washed up. Come on, I'll show you. As they traveled to a location on the shore, the members of the overboard ship found themselves unconscious on a beach. The first to wake up was Izuku. Cough cough, where am I? He began looking around to see he was on some kind of island along with everyone on the ship. Sigh, that's a relief. Everyone's okay. He started getting up before feeling something sharp poke his back. Don't move. Hands where I can see them. The greenette froze while holding his hands up slowly. How did you get here? I don't remember much. We got caught in the storm, but the rest is just fuzzy. If you're gonna lie, put a little more effort in it. I'm not lying. That is what happened. It's not worth it, Kyoka. Let's bring them to Lady Maruko and see what she says. The black-haired woman says this as she and the rest start waking everyone up, holding them at spear point, telling them to walk in a general direction. Could this day get any worse? The group of 17 found themselves in a strange tribal area where all they found were women as far as the eye could see. Holy crap, this is Nirvana. Shut up, man. The purple-haired girl that was called Kyoka smacked Mineta in the back of the head, knocking him to the ground in the process. If you're gonna kill someone, make sure it's him. Bakugo was smacked in the face by the girl with black hair to feel his nose break. You'll only speak when spoken to, clear. Grr. What the fuck was that? You dumb bitch. Bakugo was silenced by having his crotch hit by the girl to level him. You get your place now. He didn't speak, but nodded, understanding he couldn't shout his way out of this. Always have to dig a hole for yourself, don't you? Good job, dumbass. Izuku says under his breath. You shut up too. Kyoka looked at Izuku, who remained silent after this. The group found themselves near a door that led underground. The brunette and frog girl brought Inko and Bakugo's mother Mitsuki somewhere else while the rest were taken into the underground complex. Once inside, they all were hung by their feet upside down with no idea what was going to happen next. Some time passed as 3 women came in. One was a blonde with long hair wearing a purple outfit and what seemed to be decorative horns on her head. The other was another blonde-haired woman wearing a red outfit with reptile eyes and teeth that almost gave the image of a dragon, and the third was a tan woman with white hair in a leotard. The most notable thing of her, however, were rabbit-like ears coming out of her head. Alright, you've got a simple task right now. Tell us how you got here. We got caught in a monsoon. Our radio went down as soon as we entered the storm. A rogue wave destroyed the ship, then we woke up here. That's all I remember. Aizawa said this with the story not really being believed by either of the 3. I know I don't have room to speak here, but can you at least tell me what's gonna happen to mine and Kachan's moms? Relax, kid, we don't have problems with women. They'll be taken care of. You lot, on the other hand. Let's just say I'd be more worried about myself in your shoes. The long-haired blonde stated this as the rabbit woman explained. On our island, men are killed when they enter our land. What? Everyone panicked with the woman calming them down. Don't worry, we'll use your meat and bones in hunting, fishing, and bone china carving. Nothing will be wasted. That's not the issue, you fucking awe. The dragonic woman jabbed Bakugo with a stick in the face to shut him up. There's gotta be a way out of here. Izuku looked around the room trying to think before seeing a statue of the woman in his dreams. I know her. Shut up. The long-haired blonde was going to jab Izuku before being stopped. Wait a second, if you truly know whom you speak of. What is her name? Nana. Last night before the storm I had a dream. She has silver eyes, black hair and a beauty mark on the bottom right side of her face. Her skin is just as fair, if not more so, than my own mother's, and her hair is done up with an obsidian charm on the side in the shape of a dragon's skull. She said something about aiding her people and something bad is going to happen to them. The women with white hair thought about this before the blonde named you tried to reason. You can't be serious, Rumi. I mean, why would our goddess go to a man? She has a point. There's no way in the 9 hells that he could have possibly known what Lady Nana looked like to a letter is what makes this strange Ryoko. He could be telling the truth. They thought about this before the woman called Rumi got an idea. You, cut this kid down. But, now, she did this and sliced a rope holding Izuku, making him fall flat on his face. Ow, let him out. 1 second please. If I stand up now I'll pass out because all the blood went to my head. He says groggily as he's cut out of the restraints. Alright kid, I'll make you a deal. You and some of my warriors will go to Nana's temple. It's about a day and a half trip on foot from here. They'll be the proof to tell if what you're saying is true or not. If you aren't lying, you and these men live for now. But if you are, you'll wish you had the death we planned. Also, we'll count if you die on the way there as you are lying as well. Deal. Not much of an alternative. Alright, good. They began leaving with Izuku turning to a statue that was of Nana turn and look at him before seeing the eyes glow green. Thinking he was still groggy from the blood rushing to his head, Izuku shook his head a bit to notice they weren't glowing anymore. Get moving, kid. He's pushed out of the room with everyone still hanging. So what happens if he doesn't make it for us? You'll still die, hobo man. And when he proves he's telling the truth, you'll live and be watched wherever you go on this island. When you leave we will have you take a blood oath to never tell another soul of our civilization. Fair enough. We're putting our lives in Deku's hands, Mr. Aizawa. We're fucking screwed. As much as I'd love to have faith in my friend, Bakugo does have a point about Midoriya. He is not the athletic type. One by one, the guys began to agree with Iida and Bakugo's lack of faith in Izuku's ability to survive. It's either we die from Midoriya not being able to tell the truth, or we live. I'd rather keep hope that we can at least get out of this alive. I doubt we will. The ash blonde states this as he starts turning towards a wall with no means to stop. Outside the village. All right, you six. Your job is to take this guy to the temple of Lady Nana and bring him back. If he dies, he dies. But I need exact information of what happens if he gets to the temple. Understand. The six who brought Izuku and his friend nodded as they were told to set off. Let's go, man. Kyoka stated this with Ochako being a little more kinder. Sorry about her. My name's Ochako Uraraka and these are my friends. The purple-haired girl is Kyoka Jiro, the pink girl's Mina Ishido, the one that looks like a frog is Suyu Asui, the invisible one's Toru Hagakuri, and the black-haired one's Momo Yaoyorozu. It's nice to meet you. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Let's get a move on. I don't plan to waste all day doing this, we should be able to get to the Way Shrine by nightfall. Everyone started moving with Ochako starting to get rather close to Izuku. So, what's the difference between a man and a woman? Izuku looked around for everyone to be kinda curious as well. This is gonna be a long trip, isn't it? The seven walked as Izuku explained the best he could without sounding like a sick pervert the finite difference between what makes a man compared to a woman being a woman to everyone. The trek through the undergrowth was long and strenuous. Izuku was given a rudimentary machete as he carved the way in front of the girls who directed him through the path. Fallen trees, carnivorous plants and swarms of mosquitoes blocked their way as he slowly trekked through the jungle. He notices that a few of the girls were hesitant around the mosquitoes and came up with an idea. You get sick from those, don't you? He asks when Kyoka swats a mosquito away from her. We call it fever malar. The mosquitoes carry the sickness and it can be deadly. Kyoka responds coldly before Izuku stops walking forwards. He takes a step off the path towards a fallen tree. What are you doing, fool? You'll perish in the jungle. Momo scolds seeing him hack off a branch from the tree and wrap some of the foliage around the top with a vine. These plants have an oil that, when burned, is poisonous to mosquitoes. Anyone have a piece of flint or? Never mind, I got it. Izuku explains, pulling some of the leaves from a nearby plant before finding a broken arrowhead on the ground. He rips off one of the metal buttons on his pants before striking it on the flint, creating a small spark. He sparks the bundle a couple of times before it ignites and starts to smoke from the leaves. He hands the smoke torch to Kyoka, who looks at him like he has a third head. Those are citronella plants. The oils kill mosquitoes when they're burned. It will help prevent you from catching malaria, which is what the disease is named where I live. Izuku explains as Kyoka moves the smoke towards a small swarm before all the bugs fall to the floor. He stopped everything just because he was worried about me getting sick from the mosquitoes. She thinks to herself. That act of kindness didn't go unnoticed. The plants seemed to move on their own out of the way, exposing the path to the Way Shrine. Izuku looks at the girls before shrugging and walking forwards, following a now cleared mud brick path. The girls were shocked seeing the jungle react like this. They knew that their goddess controlled everything that happened on the island, but seeing her aid a man of all things was astonishing. They quickened their pace to catch up to Izuku, who was walking briskly ahead of them. An hour or so later they had stopped for a break. All of them were sweating profusely and were starting to get hungry. The pink-skinned woman broke from the group to start looking for berries while Toru and Kyoka loaded blowguns and started scanning the tree line and forest floor for wildlife. Izuku watched and studied their tactics of hunting as they effortlessly took down a large boar with a single dart. Mina soon returned later with a small basket full of purple berries. I found a good amount of these, she says before popping one in her mouth. Izuku sees and instantly recognizes the berries as poisonous but isn't able to form the words in his mouth to stop her from swallowing the berries. No, those are ivy berries, they're poisonous. Izuku screams, catching the girl's attention. Mina's eyes widen in shock seeing him rush over to her. She clutches her neck starting to choke from the poison response to the berries. Izuku rushes behind her and grabs her under the sternum trying to get her to cough up the berries through the Heimlich maneuver. The other girls have no idea what's going on and almost stop him from doing so, pulling their spears, but stop when Mina vomits up some of the berries she ate. That doesn't stop the response, however. Her face starts to swell and her eyes roll back into her head as she passes out. That's an allergic reaction to the berries. I know this will look bad, but I know how to save her, Izuku quickly says, laying her down on the path. He tears open the leopard skin tunic she was wearing on her chest to free her breathing before placing both hands over her heart and starting to press down on her. He moves over to her mouth before opening it and pinching her nose. He places his own mouth over her face, breathing into her mouth, trying to get her to breathe. The girls stand there watching this happen for a few moments, not knowing what to do. Quickly, give me my bag, he shouts, causing Momo to throw it over to him. He quickly rifles through the bag before finding his epididymal pen. God, I hope this works, he thinks as he takes off the cover on the needle and sticks her in the leg with it. He presses the trigger, injecting the medicine into her before removing it and shoving it back into his bag. Come on, he says, resuming CPR on her. Mina suddenly gasps before turning over and vomiting the rest of the berries she had consumed onto the forest floor and coughing violently. Thank goodness you're okay, Izuku says before looking down, causing his face to turn bright red. Sorry about your tunic, he says, stuttering and averting his eyes. It's fine, thank you, she says before grabbing both ends and tying it into a makeshift bikini top. Mina, you know never to eat the berries before we know it's not poisonous. You could have died, Ochako shouts, scolding her. What was that? That tube, the pushing on her chest, and that thing you did when you were behind her? Momo asks, looking through Izuku's bag. It's medicine we use for people who are allergic to things. I have it because my mother is deathly allergic to shellfish like clams or oysters. You saw her face and neck swell up. That's the allergic reaction. It counteracted it, allowing her to breathe. Think of it like a shot of energy that only has enough for one dose. The chest compressions keep her heart pumping blood, and the mouth-to-mouth forces air into her lunges so she can breathe. The first thing I did is a technique used to stop people from choking, Izuku explains, helping Mina to her feet. She stumbles and falls on top of him before catching herself and standing again. We probably should get rid of these, Kyoka says, picking up the small basket only to see the berries change. You see this, she says, showing the bag to the others. Strawberries, Izuku asks, arching an eyebrow. They were those purple ones you saw her eat, but they just changed all of a sudden, Kyoka says before pulling one out and cutting it open. Lady Nana changed these berries. It's the only possible reason, Momo says before taking one and eating it. I misjudged you, Midoriya. You're still a man, but you're not weak or foolish, she says before turning and walking back to the path. I think we should take this as a sign to keep moving. Does anyone have any water? Izuku asks before being handed a water skin by Mina. Thank you, he says before drinking from it and handing it back to her. Let's get to the way shrine. Daylight is fading fast, Toru says, picking up the dead boar and bringing it with them. Few hours of travel continued with the waypoint being in sight. Alright, we should be in a safer area now. Just be careful, wild animals could still attack us. Momo points this out with the clearing showing a small rock with Nana's image carved into it. We'll rest up and camp here. There isn't a spot anywhere close by after this where we'll be safe. Alright, I'll go find some tuya. Toru states this as she was about to fall into a trap. Luckily for her, Izuku was nearby to grab the invisible woman by her wrist, seeing a bracelet there to be the only visible marker of where her hand is. You okay? Why yeah, thanks for the save. Ochako and Sue came over to help pull Toru out, with Izuku laying back relieved nothing bad happened. Where'd this pitfall trap come from? Someone from the village probably made it. This is a hunting hotspot for everyone since most animals travel this location often. Nice save by the way. Kyoka points this out as Izuku holds a thumbs up from the shock. Aw man, I lost the water skins. Everyone looked over to notice 5 of the 7 skin sacks Toru was carrying were missing. They must have fallen when you almost fell in. Chances are, they've been pierced by the spikes. Damn it, everyone was kinda annoyed with the lack of water being an issue now with Izuku hearing running water. Is there a spring or something nearby? Yes, but the water can't be consumed, it's harmful. What's the issue with it? Animals use it for other purposes than to drink. Izuku thought about this before getting an idea. We wouldn't have a pot or something that is fireproof, would we? Momo made a stone pot from her body before giving it to Izuku. Don't know what you're going to do with this, but here you go. Alright, where's the stream? Are you stupid? We already told you the water is harmful. I'll explain it when I'm done, but we'll need a fire and the water. Everyone was hesitant before Mina spoke up. He's been right before and helped 3 of us with his calls, why not give him the benefit over the doubt? The raven-haired girl pointed in a location before following with everyone else grabbing what they could to make a small fire. While at the stream, Izuku filled the pot while Momo grabbed a few fish with her spear. So I've been meaning to ask this, but why do you and a bunch of the Amazons on the island have the ability to do some strange things? Like, well, you just made a pot out of your own body. That's not really normal where I'm from. We have quirks. Every Amazon on the island has some unique trait that we call quirks. They're gifts given to us by our goddess. Each one is unique in its own way. Fascinating. So it's kinda like a modern-day superhero. What's a superhero? Kinda someone that has powers like what your people can do in fantasy stuff some people from where I'm from do for a living. I guess we do kinda have similar traits then. The 2 came back with a fire started in the center of the waypoint. Okay, so what are you doing? I'm going to purify the water. It's not a hard trick to learn. Basically, viruses and bacteria die off past a temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. If water is at a simmer, it's at 180 and 212 if boiling. What this will do is kill anything that's harmful to us along with having any impurities float to the top. When this happens, we can skim the top and the water should be safe after. I'll believe it when I see it. Momo wasn't believing Izuku in the slightest as he began the process. After about 10 minutes with the water boiling, Izuku pulled it off the heat and skimmed any dirt out of it. He then put the water to the side out of the way to wait till it cooled enough to drink. Meanwhile, the group began setting up a small camp for them with hopes of keeping dry in case it rains. When the water was cool enough, Izuku grabbed a small cup to drink it. See, it's fine. How are you certain? Because I've done it before at my home. When I was little, I went camping with my mom and we did the exact same thing. It was something she learned from her own mother. We're both alive and well today. Momo thought about this before taking a sip of the water as well. If I get sick from this, I'm stabbing you. Noted. Izuku shivers while everyone began preparing the boar they caught. So what exactly is your quirk, as you call it? It's called creation. To put it simple, I use the fat in my body to create things. So long as I have an understanding of how to create it, I can make it. Huh, so you use lipids. What? It's the scientific term for the fat in a person's body. It's made of small things called atoms and the atoms have different names. The chemical formula for the fat in our bodies is CH3COOH. Each letter means a type of element. C for carbon, which is what our bodies are made of, H for hydrogen, a part of water, and O for oxygen, the stuff we breathe. ... I guess I do use lipids then. Izuku took another sip of water before asking a question. So could you make water? Perhaps, but I'm not fully sure how to create it. If I can't have a basic understanding of it, I cannot create what I wish to. Here this should help you know how water is made. It's air and heat, mostly just hydrogen, which is flammable. He explains, trying to get her to focus on what he is saying. As she's doing this, he notices some strange plants near him. Out of curiosity, he picked one to sniff it, telling him it's what he thought it was. Hold on a second with the boar. Izuku walked over while picking up what he found. He handed it to Kyoka and Toru with them looking at it, not sure what it was. What is it? Parsley and rosemary. Herbs that you can use to add more flavor to something. Where I'm from, flavor is something people use to improve the taste of food and it's far more enjoyable. So as a way to help, we put what we call herbs or plants with unique flavor attributes on stuff to make it taste better. So we just rub it on the boar. Put it on the inside of its chest then take it out when it's done cooking. Midoriya, I think I did it. Momo says as Izuku turns around to see droplets of water leaking off her fingers. Wow, you're a very fast learner. Being able to create water from your body is amazing. The group continued working with what they had to as the boar was being seasoned by the two girls as to what Izuku had said. The rest of the afternoon was met with relatively calm and strangely pleasant conversation with Izuku learning a tad more about the girls and their quirks. When the boar was ready, Kyoka grabbed the herbs out of the ribcage of the beast before bringing it near everyone. As they ate it, the flavor of the seasonings gave a bit more of a taste to the meat for everyone to be very content with it. So Midoriya, what's it like where you're from? It's different. We don't kill our own food or fight to keep our water levels safe as you all do, but it's a life we've learned from. What about the fact men and women live side by side? Who's the dominant one? Izuku thinks about this before answering. It's kinda split down the middle, Mina. Men and women are equal in all regards, but women are treated with a higher standard since they are the ones who bear children. Do all people know how to survive like you do? Not really. I wasn't the most popular person or the most athletic growing up, so I tried to learn what I could from books and everything. To make things simple, I'm kinda a loser where I'm from. Izuku rubbed the back of his head uneasy about answering before Sue spoke up. You seem to fit in here though. Maybe it's just you being born in the wrong area. To us, you kinda fit in Ribbit. I guess. Though I do have some friends. There's Kacchan and Iida and... Izuku began thinking of his classmates before sighing. Are we really gonna die if I can't come through for them? Sadly, yes. Nothing against you Midoriya, but our island is made up of only females. If a man were to wash up here, they do need to be taken care of quickly before any trouble could be caused. Momo explained the reasoning as Izuku held his head down. This all seems like some irrational hatred for something that happened a long time ago. Traditions of murder shouldn't be upheld. How come you all are my age but never have any men on the island? Do you have a tribal husband for only to father children before offing him and any male children? That's barbaric and I can't seem to wrap my head around the fact that it's tradition to kill innocent men and boys. First of all, no men are on this island and should be killed within finding them and reporting. Second, this was something our goddess told us, saying something about it disrupting something on the island that we need to keep intact. Third, I honestly don't have a clue why a man would be involved with Lady Nana offering children to her warriors. Wait, what? Amazons have children when our goddess acknowledges our loyalty to the tribe and deems it our time to give another generation. We do not use men for whatever you think we'd use them for, so please don't think us sick monsters or whatever you thought we were. Kyoka points this out with Izuku bowing his head. I'm sorry, that just came out. Don't worry, I wouldn't be so calm if I was in your position. Anyway, it's getting late. Start preparing for bed. Tomorrow's the harder part of the trip. Right. As Izuku laid back on a branch, he felt someone right next to him. Huh. He glanced down to see Momo next to him. WWWW, what are you doing? Sleeping. But why with me? It gets cold during the night. It's common for us Amazons to sleep with one another. Izuku looked up to see Mina and Kyoka sleeping together along with Ochako, Sue, and Tora. This is not normal in my world. Just stop talking and sleep. If you keep worrying about this, you'll be dead weight tomorrow. Izuku leaned back while thinking of something other than the situation he's in right now. Come to think of it, I wonder how Mom and Aunt Mitsuki are managing. With Inko and Mitsuki. Just wait till I get out of here, you fucking cunts. Mitsuki, this isn't the time to be picking a fight. Since the separation, Inko and Mitsuki were put in a room built for two under house arrest, unable to leave. Even though they were uninvited guests, the two were treated rather nicely. At least, far nicer than the men who were still being hung like sausages as this happened. I understand you're not happy we're here, but that isn't the scary part of all this. Inko sat on one of the beds, saddened knowing she doesn't know what happened to Izuku. Mitsuki noticed this with the rage mom letting a sigh out. He's probably fine. Though he isn't the jock of his school, Izuku has a good head on his shoulders and won't pick a fight if he can avoid it. My son on the other hand is the exception. The last sentence she said under her breath with Inko smiling a little. I just hope Izuku's okay, because if they harm a hair on my baby boy's head I'll kill everything on this island. She says with a creepily innocent smile on her face. Knowing your son, he's probably getting the VIP treatment from being kind and wanting to help people. Neither realized that Izuku was in a rather interesting position as they spoke, being hugged by a voluptuous woman for warmth. Sleep found Izuku rather quickly that night. The warm embrace of Momo was something he didn't know he was longing. He had never had a relationship with anyone, and being in the embrace of Momo during the night aided his sleep. Granted, when a big-ass tarantula made itself known by skittering up his back, it brought the gravity of the situation back to him. He was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on an island with a bunch of women who wanted to kill him. Now he is getting cozy with one of his captors and a bit friendly with a spider that also likes the warmth of their bodies. He wasn't an arachnophobe at the beginning of this, but he sure is now. Eventually the blackness of the night sky turns to dull shades of blue and started to get lighter and lighter as the sun made its way back over the horizon. Just as the sun was turning the morning sky to its shades of purple and blue, the girls started to rise from their sleep. Momo opens her onyx eyes to see Izuku with a large orange and black hairy spider sitting on his shoulder. Carefully she sets her hand in front of it and has the creature walk onto her hand before setting it back near a hole in the ground. How long has that spider been there? Momo asks, seeing Izuku visibly shiver after standing up. Since before sunrise. I didn't want to kill it because I was afraid of you thinking I hurt the jungle. Izuku replies nervously as the other women start to rise from their sleep. We're not Druid Midoriya. Most of us here would have just killed and cooked that spider just as soon as we looked at it. You valued its life though, and that's something I can respect. Let's bring down the boar from the tree, and heat it over the coals before heading out. She says, standing back up and heading over to where they hung the boar from the previous night. Izuku breathes a sigh of relief before turning to watch Momo get the boar out of the tree with minimal effort. When he does this, however, Kyoka sees that there wasn't just one big spider on him. Midoriya, try not to move for a minute or two. You have some more friends on your back, she says before taking a fan palm and sweeping the spiders off of him. Thank you, I was wondering why my back felt fuzzier than normal. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to go freak out now, Izuku says before walking over to a giant pitcher plant. He lifts the leaf covering the pitcher before sticking his head inside, covering it back over his head. Ah, he screams into the plant with the sound being muffled by the leaves. Okay, I'm better, he says with a sigh before turning back to face the girls who are giggling at his reaction. The rest of the boar was eaten that morning, with Mina using her acid to melt the ligaments between the bones, separating them from the skeleton. She places the bones and tusks into her bag before burying the skull and placing a seed over top of it. After this, Momo turns the skin into a new water skin before using what Izuku had taught her and creating water to fill it. This new skin can fit 5 gallons of water and is more than enough to continue their journey to the temple. The jungle had moved and retreated from the ancient cobblestone path, allowing them to make the trek far easier for them. A part of Momo knew that Lady Nana had contacted Izuku to come to their aid, but their traditions and upbringing was telling her otherwise. She had thought that men were evil and only wanted to destroy their society, but Izuku was vastly different than what she had been led to believe. Her trust in him was growing with the selfless actions he had done for them. Showing her how to purify water and even create it from her body, he stopped what he was doing just to collect some plants that would keep the disease-carrying mosquitoes from biting them. He even saved the lives of both Mina and Toru, Mina from eating a poisonous berry and Toru from one of their own pitfall traps. She was starting to trust him. He was very knowledgeable about his surroundings and able to keep calm despite the circumstances he was in. She knew that Lady Nana had contacted this man and she was sure of it. Now it was just getting him to the temple to solidify that. A trip that would take a day and half's journey was taking less than half that time. By the time the sun was halfway to the center of the sky, the stairs to the temple were visible just under a kilometer away from them. We should rest when we get to the base of the stairs, at least until the heat of the day has passed. Up to Lady Nana's temple is the 7,000 steps. It is the last part of the journey but also the most tiring. Once at the top, we will commune with her at her shrine and she will appear to us. Momo explains, pointing to the stone stairs leading up the side of the volcano. While Izuku stared wide-eyed at the stairs leading up to the volcano, Ochako laughed at this reaction before encouraging them to keep moving. As they pressed forwards to the base of the volcano, Tsuyu had gotten distracted from the trip and stopped to admire a particularly colorful frog sitting on a leaf. A golden color mixed with splotches of black painted the creature in a way that it glistened in the morning sun. Her curiosity and frog-like anatomy drew her to this creature and she let out a ribbit. Trying to get its attention, the small frog turns and looks up at her before licking one of its eyes with its tongue. Tsuyu mimics this with the frog tilting its head to the side in wonder, staring up at the frog-like woman before it. "Su, what are you looking at? We're almost there," Ochako says, getting the others to stop. "It's just a really pretty tree frog. I want to keep it as a pet ribbit," she replies before going to try to grab the frog. "Asui, don't touch it," Izuku says sternly, seeing the frog on the leaf. "Make sure it doesn't touch your skin. Back away slowly and don't scare it. That is a poison dart frog and we don't have an antidote for them. Not even where I live. There's no cure for their poison and you will perish in minutes," Izuku warns, causing Sue's eyes to widen with fear. She slowly backs away from the frog before watching it croak back at her and jump away back into the underbrush. She was a bit shaken up by this, having a poison frog inches away from her face, and would have picked it up if Izuku hadn't said anything to her. "You all right?" he asks, rushing up to her. "Why yeah, just a bit startled," she replies before a different frog jumps from the tree and lands on Izuku. This one is a common orange-eyed tree frog that croaks once, letting them know it is there before jumping on Sue's shoulder. "That one you can keep as a pet," Izuku says, gently rubbing his finger along the back of the frog. "It is quite cute," Sue replies before petting it as well and turning to face the others. "Don't you all use those poison frogs to kill large game?" Izuku asks, with the girls shaking their heads. "They're not near the shoreline where we live, so it's pretty rare for us to see one. Not to mention their toxin spoils the meat if we kill anything with them," Toru replies before following Momo along the path. While walking to the temple, Ochako began getting on top of a few trees, trying to make the most out of the jungle trip. "Hey Midoriya, check it out." She began swinging from vine to vine across them with everyone watching. "Does she always do that? Only when we've got time and she wants to have a little fun." Toru states this, watching their Amazon companions swing from vine to vine. "This reminds me of Tarzan a bit." As if on cue, Ochako began calling like the jungle man himself. "Are we sure that the members of the Amazons don't have connections to the outside world? This seems a little too coincidental." While swinging, however, Ochako had accidentally grabbed a vine that was rather worn out. Mid-swing, she looked up to notice it ripping apart on her. "Oh, that's not good." The vine gave way with gravity and momentum, bringing her into the group. Gangway. The group of 6 saw Ochako for everyone but Izuku to react in time to avoid her. All he saw before darkness was the dark fur on her lower garments for both to go right into a bush. "Ochako, Midoriya, you okay?" Ochako began to sit up, showing that she was fine for the most part. "I think I'm okay. Where's Midoriya though?" She began feeling someone tap her thigh to look down and see she was sitting directly on top of the green-haired boy's face. "Whoops, sorry about that." She got up with Izuku having his face turn beet red with spirals for eyes. "You good dude. I can't tell if that was divine punishment or a blessing." "What do you mean?" "It's not important." Izuku sat up, showing he was rather tired. "I guess you're not used to this type of treatment, huh?" "What part? The women coming at me and sitting on my face, or the journey through a jungle?" Everyone stopped to answer in unison. "Both." Yes. Izuku got up for them to keep going before being hugged by Ochako. "Thanks for the landing if anything." I guess it was my pleasure." The brunette ran up to Sue for the two to start talking while continuing their journey. "Everything should be fine so long as we keep walking. We're almost at the base of the volcano." Momo kept a frontal walk, knowing this part of the forest rather well thanks to constantly traveling to Nana's shrine as the leader of their small group to regularly be the one to pay homage to their goddess. Along the way, however, The heat of the forest began to get to Izuku and everyone to have them pass around the water to drink a bit. Due to being in not the greatest shape he could be, Izuku was extremely out of breath to place his hand on a tree. Unaware to him, a snake noticed him and began to get into a defensive manner. Midoriya, look out! Momo pushed Izuku out of the way right when the serpent struck to target the raven-haired Amazon instead. Momo! She fell to the ground with the snake hissing at them before slithering away. Crap, was that a poisonous one? Hearing these words made Izuku go into a panic and remember an old trick his mother taught him. On instinct, Izuku ran to Momo and began dousing the water on the area where the snake bit her. If I remember correctly, I have to place a loose bandage on the area and keep the person calm. Any stimulation of blood flow will make the venom move faster. Since she was bitten on the right side of her chest, keeping her left side up is the smarter move to keep it below her heart. Izuku went into his bag to find some clean gauze he packed just in case something dangerous happened to him or his classmates prior to pulling down Momo's clothing to place it on. What did the snake look like? It had red skin with black bands. Izuku heard this to calm down a little. Sigh, we're safe then. Why, what that was is called a milk snake where I'm from. Basically, it's a harmless snake with no venom. They mostly attack earthworms and slugs. Izuku felt something slimy on his shoulder to see a slug to point it out. Probably what he was after. He glances down to see he was touching Momo's bare chest to go completely red. I'm so sorry. It's okay. You didn't mean anything bad by it. Momo got up before reattaching her clothing with a bit of a blush on her face. We shall continue. They started walking again to reach the baseline of the steps in a clearing. The sun's directly in the sky. Going up now will cause problems. Toru and Mina looked around before smiling at one another. Everybody, let's cool off in here. The two pointed at a small river that seemed to be knee-deep. I suppose washing the sweat off us will help. The girls walked over to the edge before stripping down to nothing. To keep from seeing anything he shouldn't, Izuku turned his eyes away to only face the wall. Don't look, don't look, don't look. Midoriya, get in here. I'm fine. You're gonna overheat. Get your ass in here. I'll take my chances. The girls started to get irritated by this for Sue and Ochako to walk over. You asked for this. Ochako touched Izuku with the pads on her fingers before Sue wrapped around his torso with her tongue. Now strip. Mina and Toru took Izuku's clothes off with him covering his body. They brought him in the water while he kept to the side away from everyone. Why are you over there? Because I don't want to see something I shouldn't. The girls weren't understanding why with Kyoka walking over to pull him towards them. Wait, shut up and get over here. The girls circled Izuku keeping him from going anywhere while the greenette just shut his eyes hoping not to see them. So why were you against us bathing together? Because men and women don't bathe together around our age unless they're married. What's married mean? Sue asks this for Izuku to explain. It means men and women live together as husband and wife. Which are? The boy veered away from Momo while answering. Names for people that live together under the same roof that like each other very much. Okay, so let's get married then. Izuku stood up to look Kyoka in the eyes while shouting. We can't do that. I'm only 15. Everyone looked below at Izuku's crotch curious. So that's what separates men and women. Its size is intimidating. Izuku noticed what he did and that he saw all the girls completely naked before falling back under the water. So you're the same age as us. I thought you were older by how smart you were. I'm with Mina on this one. You're kinda smart for your age. Toru says this while Izuku holds his head down. I'll never be able to unsee what I've seen or look at a woman the same way again. Izuku began mentally crying to himself as the group waited a few more hours to walk up the steps. After a few hours of waiting, Momo had stated it would be cool enough where they wouldn't have any significant problems walking the steps. Let's go. They started walking up with the heat of the volcano still being prominent for Izuku. It should be past noon from where the sun is. Since we're starting at the bottom at the hottest part of the day, it shouldn't be as bad going up in a logical standpoint. Izuku thought this as they continued their trek up the stairs. In this time, he noticed that it became slightly hotter the longer he walked up, starting to sweat more. By midway, he felt his body covered in sweat to feel as if his dip in the river never happened. Pick up the pace or we won't get to the top by nightfall. Kyoka stated this as Izuku kept walking up, getting slower by the minute. Who pant in their pant right mind pant builds a temple pant asterisk on a volcano. After about an hour of walking up, the group found themselves at the top. We're here. Once at the top, Izuku collapsed face first on the ground, feeling the heat of the stones on his body. Yow! He jumped up in pain, feeling as if he might have burned himself from the act. You okay? Sorta. Those stones are really hot. What did you expect being near a volcano ribbit? The group of 7 walked into the temple that seemed to resemble ancient Greek temples for their gods and goddesses. The outside of the building was like a wild inferno with the heat, but the inside was a pleasant temperature for some unknown reason. It's cool in here. From what Ms. Midnight told us of our history, this place is a blessed ground that our goddess Nana protects. It is also her power that keeps an active volcano from erupting and harming the Amazons and forest itself. Without it, the island may cease to exist as a whole. They began to stop in an open room with a statue of Nana sitting on a pedestal looking in the general direction of the door they entered from. Alright, work your magic in talking to her. What? Everyone looked at Izuku, curious as he started panicking. I don't know how to contact her. Don't you all? Sorry, but she picks and chooses who she speaks to and we aren't in that situation right now. Momo stated this bluntly as Izuku only sighed. Lady Nana, I have come with hopes for your assistance. You see, my friends are in danger and the only way to help both me and them is to speak with you. Is there any chance you could talk back to me? There was a silence with Izuku starting to worry. Please work. In an instant, a blinding light came at the 7 before it dulled to show a translucent image of Nana standing in front of Izuku. Hello my champion. I have been watching you rather closely. Greetings Lady Nana. My name is Izuku Midoriya and I'd like your help if possible. So I have gathered. Nana began explaining how he had watched him throughout his journey here through the statues and waypoints to acknowledge all that is happening and what had happened. From what I can gather, you are a kind-hearted man worthy of praise. I could not have chosen a better candidate to become this island's savior. But Lady Nana, why choose a man? I am certain that a woman on this island would have made a worthy savior. Mina began asking this for Nana to explain. The reason why my child is I cannot give this quirk to one that isn't capable of holding it. She brought out a small orb that was green in color. You see, I need someone to defeat a great evil that will make itself known on this island within the year. Several hundred years ago when I was among the living, a dark evil had routed itself on this island. Because of this, the plants, animals, and your Amazon predecessors had perished to it that was in his way. Thanks to my assistance, this evil had been locked away in an underwater temple just off the island. However, the seal is not permanent and that evil shall awaken soon enough again with me no longer able to fight it. So as such, I must find one that is worthy of inheriting this power. Izuku began remembering something he saw right when he was passing out the night of the storm. A temple under the water that looked more like it was holding something instead of an area of praising. I think I saw it. When the time comes, the Dark Ruler will awaken along with his underlings to destroy this island as revenge for imprisoning him. When he's done here, he will spread his influence to the world and take anything he desires. As such, you are our only hope Izuku Midoriya. Do you accept? Izuku thought of this, understanding what was going on with a bit of fear. Yes, I'll help, but I don't think I'll be of much help. Do not worry, this quirk shall be given to you and allow you to become the mightiest. She passes the green orb to Izuku with it going inside him. I don't feel any different. It will take time before it becomes active. Be patient, cultivate its power and it will protect you and the island. Izuku thanked Nana before getting to his next issue. My friends, is there any chance you can save them? Also, why do your people hate men so much? Originally, I only planned to have you come to this island. The other men and 2 women were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. My people are also not immune to the influence of the Dark One's evil, it is he that wills all men be slain in my name. He has desecrated my island and I am powerless to defeat him. This evil is a lich outside of time itself, he existed from the beginning and now you must destroy him for he will corrupt the world as he has done so with my own home. She says moving to the side to allow them to get a glimpse at the corruption. For miles around, the trees are decaying, their wood turning an ashen color, the leaves a sickly purple and skeletons of animals littering the ground. This is his influence, and his deceit only feeds his power. Every man who was kind-hearted that he had my people kill fuels him, their souls only increasing his power further and further. Izuku sighed, knowing all this was because of one evil and his friends were in this danger because of him. However, where there is death and despair, there can also be life and fertility. Everyone looked at Nana before she spoke. I would like you to cultivate the next generation of Amazons, Izuku Midoriya. This is one of the other reasons I wished you to come. Wait, what do you mean? My power is dwindling and I can no longer keep my people protected as I used to. Because of this, I am unable to offer new Amazons to the island now that the evil has claimed their fathers and husbands. Holding my quirk, you are deemed my champion and the man who will produce the next generation. I leave my people in your hands. Should they not believe you, I will give you my mark and send a sign to the High Chieftain Lady Maruko. Beware the corruption and the 8 plagues of the Lish's awakening. She disappeared not long after this with all 7 dead silent. This was only stopped when Izuku shouted in fear. I can't be a father at 15. I can barely talk to women normally. What am I going to do? Come on. We've got a long trip back and I'm sure Maruko would like to know about this. Kyoka states this as they begin to walk out of the temple. Once they got outside, however, a statue's eyes began to glow green before zapping them to bring to who knows where. In the cell. Hello. Can someone get me down from here? Rabbit bitch. Scale woman. Horn slut. Can you shut up? It's bad enough all the blood's rushing to my head. I don't need your screaming to add to that. The group had remained tied up in the dimly lit room before the door to the outside opened. Maruko and you walked inside with some slightly overripe fruit. This is your meal. She shoved the fruit in their mouths, with some of the more agitating members having the rotten half shoved in first. From what I can guess, your friend should be nearing the temple of Lady Shimura now if he had not died yet. Many began losing hope for Izuku to return alive before a strange light came from the statue beside them. Maruko, what's happening there? They watched before the 7 that were hit by the beam found themselves on the floor. Okay, that was weird. The group got on their feet with everyone slightly surprised Izuku was alive. How did the trip go, Kriti? Lady Nana did choose him and there is an ancient evil that is coming. To counter, Izuku has become the champion of our goddess. I call bull. If anyone's gonna be the champion, it's going to be either Maruko, me, or Ryoko. We're the strongest of the tribe. Maruko walked over noticing something. Izuku's eyes had changed to silver, exactly the same as their goddesses. What happened to your eyes, kid? Everyone looked to see the silver in them. Guess this is what Lady Nana had meant when she said you would have some form of indication that you're the champion. Maruko realized this before picking him up under his arms. Welcome to the tribe of Amazons, Lady Nana's champion. She smacked her lips on Izuku's, freaking the guys out and making Izuku lose color in himself. When she let go, she dropped Izuku before turning to you. Release the men. What? You're joking. I'm not. If Lady Nana had brought this man here to save us, then there must be a good reason for them to be here. Actually, they were an accident from what she said. But the fact we kill men in her name is apparently wrong as well. Momo clarified this for Maruko to wait patiently for you to follow orders. Fine. She pulled a machete out to slice the ropes and drop all the guys on the ground. Could you at least have done that a little nicer? You 6, you'll be helping out. What was his name? Izuku. The 6 answered in unison. Right. You 6 will keep an eye on him while the men here are taken to a place where we can keep a watchful eye on them. I don't wish to anger our goddess, but I cannot trust them off the bat. And yet you welcomed Izuku in with that smooch. The girls thought this before Momo remembered one final thing. Also, Lady Nana had said we cannot obtain the next generation as we have. She has lost the ability to do this with the power that the great evil that she forewarned us about has obtained. Okay, so how are we gonna get the next generation? The 6 pointed at Izuku to make you now even more enraged. Momo, come with me to tell all about what happened during the meeting. The rest of you, bring Izuku to your group's homes. Treat him nice. Everyone did as they were told, with the guys still being in the cages as they left. Hey, what about us? You threw a piece of rotten fruit at Bakugo to cover his face. You're dead the second I get out of this cage, Deku. With Izuku and the girls. Izuku started to wake up, being carried by Ochako holding his shirt while he's in the air. What happened? You passed out after Maruko accepted you into the Amazon tribe. Now we're going to bring you to our home where we'll have you stay until told otherwise. Sue answered Izuku's question before he remembered the kiss. Why did she kiss me? That's how we accept our sisters as part of the tribe. We perform mucosal contact in which we form a pact of sisterhood. Okay. That's not the most normal thing that you could do, but let's just go with that making sense for now. The six continued in silence before Mina began asking a serious question. So Midoriya, how do you make kids where you're from? Izuku looked at the pink-skinned girl before she explained how it happens for them. When we accomplish the Amazon trials, Lady Nana bestows us the ability to reproduce our greatness in a child. What happens when a man and a woman creates children? Izuku went beet red before answering the best he can. Well, it's kinda hard to describe in public. It's one of those things that you it's more like can you please just tell us instead of beating around the bush? I'm getting annoyed with these half-ass answers. Kyoka pointed this out for Izuku to say bluntly. You all remember how I said men and women have different things between their legs? Everyone nodded. Well, that on me goes into what you have. So you stab us and we make kids? Toru asked with Izuku unsure how to answer. Kinda, but there's more to it. Oh well, I guess we'll find out when it happens. I wonder how it feels to have whatever that is piercing you. I always imagined it was rather painful on your end, Uraraka. Oh well, we'll find out later. Sue stated this with her frog friend sticking out of her hair, making Izuku a little concerned with what was to happen. Mom, I'm sorry if I become a father at 15. I don't mean to, but it may happen. As Izuku and the girls went to rest up at their home, Momo had begun explaining everything that had happened during the talk with their goddess to Maruko. And that's everything that Lady Nana has said. Maruko brought them to her home to speak privately to realize the gravity of what they have done for decades on decades. By the gods, what have we done? She was beyond baffled at the fact that they were not only doing things against their goddess's wishes, but adding to the power in which Nana had desired to prevent from harming her followers. Did she say anything about her being ashamed of us? No, she probably knew we were trying to follow her will and does not blame us for it. That still doesn't make our actions against those who were just here by accident and did not intend harm acceptable. She held her head in shame, knowing all the innocent people they put to death, thinking it was all in a way to protect what their goddess deemed sacred. This Midoriya kid, what is your honest opinion on him? In a state of knowledge, he outranks me in a sense. Unfortunately, his strength is where he will fall. If something is not done about that soon, our only hope will perish along with our island and us. The rabbit woman thought of this before coming up with a somewhat happy medium. We won't tell the people that all the death of the men before had been against Lady Nana's wishes. If we do, the stability we have will be crumbled because of lack of trust. What we must do, however, is say that our goddess has ordered the men on the island and any going forward that do not pose a serious threat should live. This will at least keep us from going into a state of self-destruction at the moment. What about what Lady Nana said of the next generation? What should we do about that? Maruko thought about this before answering. For now, we'll play it out as Lady Nana wishes for Midoriya to become our savior, and we'll go through the Amazon trials within 2 weeks. My lady, I do not think that is a wise move. Though he has a quirk now, we do not know what it does, nor does he have the strength to do such a thing. He'll die. That is why I shall help train him myself along with my group. You 6, however, will be rewarded as the first to produce the next line of Amazons. Is there an objection to that? Momo thought of this before shaking her head no. Good, now what can you tell me of this boy as a person? Well, he seems to care for others and knows quite a lot. He also does not wish to harm the forest more than he'd have to. There's also a bit of a childish insecurity about him that's rather... Quote. She stopped, seeing her leader smirk. What's wrong? You're blushing. Instantly, Momo covered her cheeks as her face turned bright red. So the kid's got a good heart and doesn't want to hurt others. Good. Next order of business is to find out how he'll make kids and go from there. From what I can gather, it may have something to do with a strange thing between his legs that separates men and women. Oh, tell me what your opinion is on it. Quote. Intimidating. Few hours later, after being brought to the small home, Izuku found himself sleeping in a room with everyone in one bed. So this will be somewhat the same as before in the jungle. Yup, but no creepy crawlies this time. Mina states this with a little confidence while making Izuku shiver at the thought of the arachnids that were on his back and shoulder. Is it too much to ask if you girls know what happened to my mother and Kachan's mom? They most likely got brought to the guest home. That's where we keep the women that wash up on the shoreline that come from the outside. Depending on what they desire, they can either stay here or leave. If they stay here, they will become part of the tribe and birth the next generation as part of a way to be in this tribe. Kyoka points this out for Izuku to understand the concept of what will happen. I'm back. Momo begins walking into the home, having everyone meet her near the entrance. So this will be what will happen. Midoriya will stay with us and be trained to take the Amazon trials in 2 weeks. That's suicide. Toru wasn't exactly proud of hearing this, with Momo continuing. As a reward, when he completes it, he will be able to produce the next line of Amazons with us. Wait, so we're going to get that thing put in us ribbit? What thing? The girls point towards Izuku's crotch while Momo holds a surprised look. That goes in us to make babies. Yeah, sorry if that's kinda disturbing. Izuku scratched the back of his neck, uneasy about this. Getting off the topic of that, Maruko does know that Izuku isn't going to live if he takes the trials as he is now, right? She said her and her group will train him Kyoka. She'll make sure that he is prepared for this. Everyone stopped after realizing what their ox-cord friend said. Did you just call him me Izuku? Well, I mean, you're gonna put babies in us. Why not call you that? Everyone thought this before understanding. She's got a point. You'll be here for a while and you will be the father of our children, so it's only understandable that we should call you by your first name and you call us by ours. Wait, I never agreed to being a father at 15. Lady Nana said it, and her will is final on this island. Ochako bluntly said this, with Izuku going even redder than he already was. But I'm not from this island. I also barely know you girls. Yet you were bathing with us not that long ago. Mina points this out for Izuku to curl into a ball, wanting to die at that moment. Anyway, what about the evil and what our goddess said about the death of the men? Momo took a sigh before answering. We'll stop killing men as a whole, but we can't do anything about what we already did. For now, we need to create more children as a way to make amends for what our predecessors and us have done for a very long time. The sun started going down, with the group making something small to eat before bed. After this, the group of 7 had laid in the bed with Izuku in the center. Momo and Sue had taken his arms, Tora and Mina taking his lower sides, Ochako resting him on her body, and Kyoka taking the front half. Why are we placed like this? It's to help keep warmth, duh. Kyoka started to feel his body, noticing the lack of muscle on it. You've got a hell of a lot of training to do if you wanna last against something that even Maruko can't win against. I know, but I'm afraid I won't be able to do anything. She began using her ox cords to lift Izuku's chin up while smiling. You're trying at least. Most people in this situation probably would say screw it and leave the second they got the chance. You, on the other hand, decided to stay. That says a lot about you. Izuku smiled while seeing the ox cord Amazon rest her head on his chest. This whole thing is kinda messed up, but I guess I'll get used to it. He began falling asleep, hearing the sound of crickets and nocturnal creatures outside. The next morning, the sun began to enter into the room to force Izuku's eyes to open. As he did, he felt something be lodged in his mouth, forcing him to look down. As he realized what it was, his eyes opened in horror. During the night, the girls began moving around to the point Momo's left breast found its way into his mouth. Ochako buried his head deep in his chest. Kyoka somehow got her body spun around to have her lower half face him, and the other girls had his limbs in spots he'd rather not say. How the hell did this happen? Momo began waking up first to notice what happened, to just stare at Izuku, unsure what to think. Morning. MMMPH. Izuku tried to speak with his mouth full at the moment. You mind letting my boob go? Izuku opened wide with the other girls starting to wake up as well. Morning. While waking up, the girls and Izuku noticed his body was rather different than when they went to bed. The scrawny weak physique he had turned into a well-toned one rocking a six-pack. Okay, what the heck happened? You're like a buff version of yourself. Mina asked Izuku, who was confused as much as her. I couldn't even tell you even if I wanted to. What's poking my face? Kyoka began asking for Izuku to look over her butt to see he was pitching a tent with it poking her eye. Eep. Izuku immediately got up holding his crotch to keep it from being seen. Does it always do that when you wake up? Toru asked as Izuku turned his back to avoid them seeing. Why yes. At least, it's a normal reaction in the morning for men. Does it hurt? Felt kinda swollen when I had a face full. Kyoka's comment made Izuku hang his head in shame. Depends. So I'm guessing that's what happens to make babies then. Yes. Silence was in the air before the door was kicked open by Maruko. Rise and shine, kid. Training starts now. She walked into the bedroom seeing Izuku bent over before grabbing him to lug on her back. Wait, can you give me a minute? We're burning precious daylight. Get your ass in gear. Maruko ran out with Izuku to run towards the forest. Where are we going? The Amazon Coliseum. You'll be training like a beast there for the entire time you're under my care. Goddammit, why does my life have to be this? At the Coliseum, as they walked in, Izuku noticed 5 others in the stadium, not counting him or Maruko. The first 2 he noticed were the women that were with the rabbit woman when they first met, but the other 3 weren't familiar to him at all. Allow me to introduce everyone to you, Izuku. These are the top 6 Amazons in the village. You already know Ryoko Tatsuma and Yu Takayama, or Yukyu and MT. Lady as they're known as. Hello. Ryoko smiled a little before returning to her stoic look with Yu clicking her teeth and looking the other way. Did I do something to anger her? Over there we have Nimari Kayama or Midnight, and the last 3 wait, where's Tomoko? The blonde woman pointed near the stands where a green-haired woman was sitting on the edge. So this is the guy that washed up on the shore that you said had our goddess's blessing. She jumped down and ran at Izuku to lift him up. Looks plain, has a horrible mess of hair, has a baby face. He's adorable. Everyone was silent, seeing a different aspect that they'd not expect from someone that lived on this island their entire life. Nice to meet you, Mr. Man. I'm Tomoko Shirotoko, but you can call me Ragdoll. Izuku looked at Maruko, who slammed the back of her right foot on top of Ragdoll's head. Sorry about that. Tomoko saw something she shouldn't have some time ago, and now she kinda does her own thing when it comes to men. Anyway, the last 2 over there are Shino Sosaki and Ryoko Tsuchikawa, who are more commonly known as Mandalay and Pixie Bob. After me, these 6 are the best of the best on the island. It's nice to meet you all. Izuku bowed at them with most rather distant due to their treatment of men until recently. Starting today, these 6 and me are your teachers. Now for the first half of your training. Maruko grabbed a large rock to throw at Izuku. Run around the village carrying that rock 20 times. You slow down, Midnight whips you. I don't think that's a good form of Modi * smack. Izuku was cut off by getting a whip to the ass. Less talk, more running. He bolted out of the stadium with Midnight in tow, showing a bit of satisfaction, literally making Izuku a whipping boy. You can't be serious right now, Rumi. You spoke up with most of the women in the stadium agreeing with her. Lady Nana chose him as our champion, so we're going to make him one. How are you even certain this is the truth? Pixie Bob pointed this out for them to hear, a voice from atop on the podium for the elite of the tribe to hear. I can assure you he was chosen by me. They all glanced up to see the image of their goddess sitting in a throne as she overheard their conversation. Lady Nana. They bowed to her with the specter almost teleporting down towards you and Pixie Bob. You wished for proof that Izuku is chosen by me, then hear this from my voice specifically. He is in everything that your young member of the Amazons told Maruko is the truth. Almost as quickly as she arrived, she vanished, scaring everyone, knowing that this is the truth and was told to them by their goddess. Rumi, what did she mean by everything? Ryoko asked for her to sigh while answering. We have been murdering people thinking it was her decree. There is a powerful evil force that twisted her words, changing them to say that we had to kill all the men on the island. This evil has been draining Nana's power and we have been feeding it thinking we were abiding to her will. We're no better than the monster of the depths. All the women went ghost pale hearing this, realizing that they've become the monsters they thought men were. Impossible. We killed for a demon instead of our goddess. Maruko held her head in shame. Yes, for now, that boy is our only hope for both us living as a tribe and surviving a nightmare that is to plague us. If he doesn't survive, we die. Simple as that. Everyone understood this, making a pact at that moment to create Izuku into the greatest warrior of the Amazons that has ever existed. To them, this would be the best way they could think at the moment to atone for what had happened. Yow! The sound of Izuku was heard in the distance with the crack of a whip to help him move faster. Izuku had gone through the entire day of training being covered in scrapes, bruises and whiplashes from midnight. Every part of his body was sore as the afternoon was upon him. As he walked home, however, Maruko grabbed him to talk. So kid, what do you think of our training? Painful and brutal. The rabbit woman began laughing. Glad you liked it. Anyway, we've got people to see. Let's go. Maruko started dragging Izuku behind her as they came to some rather nice-looking homes. Here, the two met up with Yukio, Midnight, and the 6 girls in front of a room. To make a long story short kid, we were holding yours and that angry guy's moms here. Since we had no issue with women, they've been taken care of. They aren't hurt, right? Izuku, we're Amazon warriors, not monsters. Momo pointed this out while Midnight unlocked the door. When she opened it, Mitsuki came out with a chair swinging. Let me go, you freakishly strong women. Mitsuki glanced over to see Izuku hurt a bit with rage boiling in her. Dieeeee. She threw the chair at Maruko, who only kicked it to shatter the wooden seat into pieces. Nice kick. Thanks kid. What have you done to Izuku, you tan-skinned leotard-wearing slut? ? Was that an insult? Izuku shrugged his shoulders at the rabbit Amazoness before Mitsuki tried to tackle her to the ground. Izuku, run. Wait. And Mitsuki, you don't understand. I knew this was going to be a problem. Rumi, cover your mouth. She did as Midnight asked while everyone did the same. She ripped the skin-tight outfit she was wearing for the ash-blonde woman to fall into a deep sleep. She covered the area back up, looking at everyone again. It should be safe now. Everyone uncovered their mouths for Izuku to ask about what just happened. How did you do that? It's my quirk. My body creates a pheromone that puts people to sleep. The fact it worked on her means she's attracted to women. So it works better on men. Exactly. Allow me to show you. Midnight opened the torn part off again for Izuku to smell the pheromones. Smells like honey and roses. He passed out not long after for everyone to look at the woman. What? He asked about it. You're carrying him. Maruko motioned the girls first to go in and see Inko in a corner defending herself with a frying pan. Stay back. I've got a frying pan and I know how to use it. Okay, can we please get this whole, you all thinking we're monsters, thing situated please? I mean, you two are literally being treated better than the guys were before we cut them down off the ropes. You're still being treated better since they're still sitting in the cells as their form of a home. Then why is my son unconscious and being carried by that woman? Midnight felt a tad bit of agitation by being called that woman. We're getting off on the wrong foot here. Please sit down so we can bring Izuku and that vile man's mother back to consciousness. Inko did as she was told while Midnight placed Izuku on the small couch to make him comfortable. Meanwhile, Yukio ties Mitsuki to a chair with wax over her mouth so she wouldn't start screaming at them the second she'd wake up. A few minutes after, the two woke up to notice everyone sitting calmly in the room. Well, almost everyone. Mitsuki was shouting and swearing under the wax on her mouth before Maruko began explaining the situation in a nutshell. So to avoid a long story, the guys are gonna live and your son's gonna become the father of a whole lot of Amazon babies. This comment was kinda shocking to say the least, as Inko didn't understand any of this. Why my son? Why the change of heart? Also, my baby boy's going to be a father. To answer your questions, our goddess chose him. It was her decision to do this, and not yet. We're working the stuff out with this, but we are kinda going on straws on how men and women make kids. Any chance one of you could teach our people? Inko's demeanor went from concern to calm after. I suppose. When a man and a woman fall in love, a stork brings them a baby that grows inside the woman for 9 months before it's born. Nobody believed her, including Izuku, who was half wishing it was this easy for his sake. What about you, crazy lady? I think it would be best if I asked her. She looks like if you get one step closer she's going to go rabid. Izuku says before cautiously approaching Mitsuki. And Mitsuki, I'm going to pull the wax off now. When I do, please don't overreact. We're all friends here. Mitsuki nodded as Izuku held onto the small bit of wax he could before tearing it off in one go. Ow, sorry. At least my son got rid of that lip hair you were worried about on the ship. Inko laughed as the ash-blonde mother held an agitated glare at her. So what do you say, loud woman, you wanna help us? Sure, but I need you to do me one favor. Maruko was a tad confused before answering. Sure, what? Untie my hands so I can wring the neck of that black-haired bitch over there for knocking me the fuck out. Yeah, that's probably not gonna work in your favor, woman. Had to try. Everyone was rather intrigued by this, with the 6 girls going slightly red. You know, Izuku, you're pretty big. If I was one of these girls, I wouldn't mind taking a crack at you. Nothing personal, Aunt Mitsuki, but I'd rather avoid Kachan having even more reason to wanna kill me. He's a crappy son anyways. Besides, I'm wanting a new one, she says with an evil grin. Izuku swallows a lump in his throat hearing this. Speaking of my crappy son, where is he right now? Last I checked, the men were on the shore of the beach looking for stuff. Not exactly sure what though. I'll go check. Izuku ran out of the room as quick as he could to the shoreline, pulling his pants up in tow. So, that can't feel good, can it? I've been stabbed before by accident on a hunting trip and I'd rather not recreate that feeling. Maruko asks, turning to Mitsuki. Trust me, there is no pain involved in that. Unless you're a virgin, wait, fuck you all are. But after the first time, it becomes quite a thing to look forward to. The women were discussing this while the 6 were thinking to themselves about what they witnessed. If it hurts the first time, then maybe some practice would be necessary. That thing was in front of my face this morning. Are all men like that, or is Izuku special? Maybe I should try this for myself. I wonder if it'll be visible inside me. Would having children be like how animals do it? Ribbit. With Izuku. Izuku found himself running down into the shoreline to notice his classmates and teacher finding anything they could to make a boat. Hey, everyone stopped to see Izuku run over to them. Where the hell have you been, Deku? Bakugo shouted to make the greenette stop in his tracks. Aizawa walked over to Izuku to look him in the eyes. Are you alright? Did anything bad happen? And no sir, I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay at the moment, if that makes any sense. How? Well, I seem to find a way to get stronger somehow, and also the Amazon warriors are all really nice to me for the most part. At least, the ones I've met so far. Nobody couldn't believe this, with Mineta and a blonde called Kaminari coming over to ask a serious question to Izuku. How far did you get with any of the girls here? Izuku thought about this while answering. Well, I was able to bathe with them, not my highlight moment, and their god kinda made me their tribe husband. I also slept, not in the way you think, Mineta, with 6 girls, and they kinda saw me, as in my crotch. Everyone was silent before Mineta, Kaminari, and another classmate of theirs, Siro, grabbed Izuku in anger. What kind of life have you been living while we're tied up by our feet? It's not like that. I didn't even know what was going on until everything happened. You jerk. We're all stuck here, and you're living like you're in the Playboy Mansion. Screw you. I hope your dick falls off and you get AIDS. Mineta, Kaminari, Siro, this is unwelcoming to one of our classmates. Release him at once. The 3 let go, with one of the Amazons watching the class watching from the corner laughing at their antics. Seems these men aren't dangerous. I have to stop saying this. Nana herself told us it was an evil making us think this way. Momo and Toru watched from the side, catching up to Izuku and seeing the little antics of the class. What are you 2 doing here? The girls turned to see a woman with orange hair and green eyes and a figure holding a similar aspect of being filled out like Momo's walkover. Itsuka, what are you doing here? I was told by Lady Maruko to watch these men. Question is, why aren't they killed yet? Momo remembered what she told their leader and that most of the information will be withheld from the tribe to avoid chaos. To make a long story short, these men are going to live and the one with the green hair is the chosen champion of our goddess. You can ask her yourself if you think me untruthful. Itsuka watched Izuku avoid debris being thrown at him by Mineta and Kaminari with one hitting him in the head and forcing him to kneel in pain. I'll believe it when I see it. The fact our goddess chose someone like that instead of one of her own loyal followers is without a doubt the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The three continued watching to see some of the guys pulling a metal bottom to a ship out of the sand. Hey, can we get some help over here? I think we found a good piece of plaiting for a boat. A guy with brown hair and rather odd-shaped lips called Sato shouted this for a couple guys to start pulling with him. Neither were really able to get the piece out of the sand with the thought of digging it out now coming to mind. It was only when Izuku walked over that everyone took note of his attempt. If all of us couldn't do it, what hope do you have, Deku? Izuku began pulling to realize what Bakugo meant. Some of the guys started laughing that Izuku couldn't make it budge in the sand before green lightning started to arc around him. What the? Itsuka, Momo, and Toru took note of this to see Izuku begin moving the metal out of the sand, forcing all that were laughing to stop and watch in shock and agitation. When it was out, Izuku placed it back on the sand before holding his arms feeling a bit of soreness. What the? Itsuka stated this with the rest of the guys finishing her sentence. What the hell? Izuku looked at the piece of metal and again at his arms to comprehend he did something that not even some of the strongest in the class could do. So I'm guessing this is that quirk the goddess gave me. Izuku started thinking about what he did along with the pain in his arms to think this may be some kind of drawback like how the other girls' quirks work. Deku, explain how you did that now. I don't know. I just did it. Bakugo was fit to be tied as he started chasing Izuku down the beach. Meanwhile, Itsuka was in disbelief of what she just witnessed. That just happened, right? Go Izuku. Toru waved her arms up from what they could tell with a bracelet on her wrist while Momo held a satisfied look. Does that answer your question that he was chosen by Lady Nana? The two girls left as Itsuka stood there watching Izuku run for his life away from Bakugo. I still don't get it. Why out of everyone that our goddess could have chosen would she choose a man? It makes no sense. She watched Izuku run away from the group and into the forest and decided to follow him. There has to be a reason. There's no way she'd choose a man without there being something to him. Itsuka ran over to where Izuku went into the woods to follow him and keep an eye out to see what exactly is so special about him. Izuku sprinted through the undergrowth away from Katsuki, who was still shouting for him to come out and stop being a coward. Not wanting to deal with the blonde's attitude nor shouting, he ran deeper into the forest and managed to lose him in the foliage. His footprints he left whilst running left a clear trail for Itsuka to track through the foliage, so it was no problem for her to find him sooner or later. There was something off, however. The plants seemed to be decayed or afflicted with something the further he got into the forest. Then the air became stale, as if not enough oxygen was present. He stopped after believing he had lost Bakugo back in the forest and began to take note of what he saw. The plants were afflicted with some strange curse or disease. An otherworldly evil purple color corrupted the fauna around him. The wood looks as if the life had been leached from it, leaving it a deathly gray. The leaves left a dark purple that broke apart like flakes of ash when touched. Bones and rotted flesh of animals were the only evidence this place ever had life. Itsuka manages to catch up with Izuku as he looks at the corrupted plants. What is this? She asks, terrified of what she is seeing. I don't know, but it affects not only plants and animals but air as well. We probably shouldn't stay here, Izuku says, looking at the clearing of corrupted plants and decaying animal corpses. The two begin to retrace their steps out from the corruption as they walk, cautious of what may be lurking in the decayed fauna. Something from behind a decayed tree piques Itsuka's attention. There's a way shrine there. Maybe Lady Nana will take us back to the camp, she says, leading Izuku towards the shrine. This one, however, looks ancient, abandoned, desecrated and forgotten. The inside shows not the face of a woman but instead a proud warrior man with hair slicked back and a large bang facing up towards the sky. The other side of the statue's face looks decrepit, as if the man had aged and stopped eating for a very long time. A very body facial structure and sunken in eyes showing on the statue. Who is this? Why is there a statue of a man on the island? Itsuka asks, seeing the decaying statue. Because he was a god as I am. Nana's voice rings out. The two of them turn to the entrance of the way shrine to see her standing there with her arms folded and a solemn look on her face. Who is he then? Why have we never learned of him? The orange-haired young huntress asks. A tear runs down the side of Nana's face as she walks past them and presses her hand on the cheek of the statue. He's been dead for a long time. Toshinori, my firstborn and my only son. She says, her voice cracking up with sorrow that had been building for millennia, perhaps even longer. Toshinori was my son and the warrior god who was king of the Amazons, thousands of years ago. My baby boy ruled this land and kept it safe from the evils of this world. She says, weaving an image into the jungle fog along the ground. If it is too painful you don't have to say, but how did he die? Izuku asks. Nana weaves her hand in the air above the mist and an image of Toshinori's face in its true visage reveals itself in the fog. Suddenly it shifts, depicting a climactic battle at the shore of the island between a wraith-like being with skeletal hands and a hood over its face and Toshinori holding a machete and shield. The lich murdered him, sapped the power and life force from him and embedded his power in his phylactery, fueling his power. The reason I chose you is when he perished I took his warrior's spirit and his pure soul and had it be reborn into the next life. A man you know as King Arthur along with many other courageous beings have been his reincarnations. You are the 9th incarnation in his cycle and I have bestowed you his power to finally put an end to the lich that has plagued my land. Nana says, motioning for the two of them to look out at the forest. For miles around the corruption is visible, like a mold it had spread onto the lush green landscape of the forest, decaying and claiming everything it touches. The lich was a powerful sorcerer in life who sought to conquer the world and live forever. He slayed gods in other pantheons and used their power to make himself immortal. I imprisoned him underneath the island as an attempt to keep him from wreaking more havoc on this world, but my power is waning. I can't hold his binds forever because he leeches my power through the plants and fauna. It is why the last one who was to be born into the tribe died before they could be. I can no longer sustain the life on the island and the seals will be broken soon. There was a series of omens long ago that foretold his coming. 8 plagues of withering are coming and this is the proof of their awakening. The corruption, Nana explains. It is unsafe to stay here, and I am unable to blink you from here to the main shrine at the beach because of the desecration here at this one, but I will clear a path for you and that loud child to return safely to shore. She says, her visage fading, but not before she snaps her fingers and the trees shift, revealing an ancient stone path from the way shrine to the beach. The two walked out on the path, seeing Bakugo en route. There you are, you little shit. Get over here. Izuku was about to be attacked, but was saved by Itsuka enlarging her hand to knock Bakugo into the dirt and knocking him out. She lugged the ash blonde on her back before walking beside Izuku to the shoreline. As they returned, Itsuka passed Bakugo to the guys as her and Izuku stayed to the side. I never knew that men actually stayed on this island nor that Lady Nana's powers were fading. I honestly only knew that the lich or whatever it is corrupted your minds to think all men are evil instead of the truly dark ones. Both held their heads down, knowing just how deep the evil sealed away on this island is held to this land, along with how much sacrifice was made by the goddess of the Amazons and her own son. I think we deserve a little better of an introduction. Itsuka held her hand out to Izuku with a smile. My name is Itsuka Kendo. I'm the leader of a group of Amazon warriors about the same age as Momo. Izuku held his hand out as well to smile. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I hope we get along well. Likewise. Midoriya, you bastard. You're getting chummy with another hot babe on this island. Mineta shouted in anger as Izuku began running back to the village. No wonder Momo doesn't have an issue with him. He's really nice compared to what most men we hear about are like. Days of brutal training had passed for Izuku as he began to grow more skilled with his quirk and more adapted to training physically. Thanks to this, he was ready enough to the point Maruko didn't feel as if he'd definitely died during the Amazon trials. All right, kid, seems you've got enough of a hand of this. Let's call it a day so you can rest for the trials tomorrow. Izuku put down a giant boulder to breathe easier. Thanks. As the two walked out of the arena, the young green-haired boy realized he knew virtually nothing about the trials he had to face. Ms. Maruko, just what are the Amazon trials exactly? They're 4 tests that determine how strong you are and how skilled you are. In them, You need to pass at least 3 to pass the whole thing. They tend to differ depending on what we hold, but they all test your knowledge, power, and skill as a whole. The final trial, however, is a fighting match where you will face off against one of our Amazon warriors that are picked at random. The part that makes this difficult is that it's bare-handed with no armor and clothing to protect or cover yourself. Izuku stopped to realize what was said. I need to fight someone naked. Relax, you're not the only one naked in this. That doesn't make that any less awkward. Maruko rolled her eyes before explaining more into detail. Just pass 3 of the 4 and you don't have to worry about the last one. Then again, you'll be holding mating matches with women after, so you can kinda see this as you're preparing for what's to come. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be some kind of communal husband or something. My life just keeps getting better and better. They continued to walk until getting to the home Izuku was staying in. Oh yeah, did the guys ever get some place to sleep better than the prison cell? Yep. They're put up so you don't need to worry about that. A massive relief came off Izuku before they opened the door. When they did, the girls were in what looked like cooking aprons and showing off their features quite nicely. Welcome home, Izuku. The girls welcomed him with a nosebleed coming out of the green-haired boy. Wow, what are you all doing with those on? That Mitsuki woman said you'd like this. Nice lady. Her son, not so much. Kyoka stated this bluntly for the other 5 girls to nod. Well, Kachin takes some special interest to like, but that still doesn't wait. I'm getting off topic here. Why did Aunt Mitsuki tell you to put on these? She said that where she's from, a wife should present herself in front of her husband like this after a hard day's work. It makes them happy or something. Ochako obviously said this for Momo to look down at her attire. Does this not make you happy seeing? It does. Jay just nod in a good way. Wait. There's a bad way to make you happy, Ribbit. Izuku was in a bind. Not only was fatigue dampening him right now, but the scene in front of him was making the already mentally exhausted Izuku desire nothing more than to enjoy the feast in front of him. She did also say this helps make babies, but I don't get how. Mina questions before seeing Izuku's lower half. Now I see. Every girl gave a realizing. Oh, knowing now what this was for. So do we say the phrase now? Or do we not need it? Phrase. Izuku looked at Toru as she explained herself. Yeah, she said this phrase will give you so much energy if we do it right. The girls kneeled in front of Izuku while they began saying what Mitsuki asked them to. Welcome home, Izuku. Would you like dinner? Or maybe a bath? Or maybe. Each girl repeated the last bit while lowering a strap to barely keep Izuku from seeing what he did during their bathing together incident. Would you like me? The scene was beginning to become too much for Izuku to run out the door. I need to douse my head down with cold water. Izuku ran away as fast as he could with the girls watching him. And here I thought I'd get to learn from first-hand experience what Mitsuki said when she explained the pleasures of being taken by a man, or whatever she said. Momo pouted a bit with the girls being a bit disappointed as well. With Izuku found a waterfall to shove his head into and scream while doing so. Ah! He began to pull his head out to see his hair fall down to cover his eyes. Oh my god, why am I dealing with this? ? Quote. He began to feel a woman's chest push against him that felt rather large in his opinion. Momo, is that you? He stopped mid-sentence seeing that it was without a doubt not Momo behind him. You're not Momo. Hi, you're a funny-looking girl. Izuku just froze hearing this. She thinks I'm a girl. I'm. Izuku stopped for a second before thinking. Wait, not many of the Amazons know that much about my situation. Maruko just said that they weren't killing men anymore, and if she sees me out like this, it'll be a bad thing. Not only that, but she might freak out seeing me as a man. Her thinking I'm a girl might be a better idea. So you're a boy then? Izuku stopped when he realized he was thinking out loud. Shit. The girl laughed before Izuku had gotten a better look at her. She was a girl that seemed to look a little older, but not significantly, with blue hair and eyes and a chest as big if not bigger than Momo's. I've never seen a man up close before and gotten the chance to talk to them. What's it like where you're from? Is it true that men and women live together? How does hunting work with you all? What makes you different from women? She kept questioning as she leaned closer and closer to Izuku. She doesn't stop, does she? Izuku started to fall back before pulling the blue-haired girl with him. He found himself face first in cleavage, sending him into a state of unease no man could hold complete self-control over. Sorry, I can sometimes get a little. The girl stopped when she felt something poke her. Is this what makes men and women different? Ah, Izuku quickly got up and turned away from her in order to keep his sense of morals. Sorry. There was a silence in the air for a few minutes before the woman spoke again. Oh yeah, we never introduced ourselves before. Sorry, I'm a bit of a forgetful woman as they say. My name is Najire Hado. What's yours, Mr. Man? Izuku Midoriya. Also, I think the better term is airhead. Sounds familiar. Najire laughed this off to insinuate to Izuku that she is without a doubt an airhead through and through. So what brings you out here? I was trying to calm myself down in hopes to focus for tomorrow. Much help that did. Oh yeah, the Amazon trials are tomorrow. Wish you luck. She didn't hold any form of misinterpretation in her words for Izuku to calm himself a bit. Thanks. They started walking back before Najire remembered something. Oh yeah, there's some kind of new ritual Maruko wants us to learn now. New ritual? Yeah, she said she'd show us after the trials tomorrow. I don't know what it is, but she said it was something about showing how to create babies or something. Izuku heard this to go pale. Am I going to have my first time be shown to a group of women who I might have to sleep with later on? He didn't know what to think of this feeling, excitement or impending doom or death from embarrassment. Do you know what is going to be in the trials? Najire asks, tilting her head to the side as she asks it. No one has said anything about it. For all I know, Maruko had told them not to let me know a single thing. Izuku responds with a defeated sigh. You have 4 trials. A search and retrieve, a hunting, the second is a test of agility with you reaching a destination with dangers attacking you, and the third is a fight. We are warriors after all. Wait, that's 3. What's the 4th? Maruko said something about a 4th being to test just how far your resolve is or something. The two made it to where he was staying before he turned to Najire. Thank you for this information. It at least helped me understand what in particular I'm facing. Don't worry about it. Good luck tomorrow. Izuku walked into the home to see the girls in normal clothes again to keep his issues prior from returning again. He apologized for running away for them not to exactly feel heartbroken about it before they decided to go to bed. The next morning, the moment of anticipation finally came for Izuku. The Amazon trials had come. Welcome, my fellow sisters. Today, we have a treat to behold. Our goddess Nana has chosen a champion who will guide us into a new era. Now do not get me wrong, I did not believe it at first when I saw this person. But he has proven himself worthy and will become the savior Lady Nana has asked for. Now here he is, the contender of our trials today, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku walked into the arena for all the women to question why he was there. Why is Lady Nana's champion a man? I'm surprised he's not dead yet. Is it okay for him to be here? I'm a little worried. The members of the tribe kept questioning until Maruko spoke up. As I mentioned before, I did not believe this as you all did. However, Lady Nana chose him and said this to me herself. So as a way to prove this to be true, he shall fight the trials and prove himself worthy to you all. The crowd started to slowly cheer before Izuku started to take a few stress-relieving breaths. Meanwhile, the members of his class were sitting by the side with the 6 girls Izuku's been living with watching. Should I be worried my student might die during this? Izuku's been working hard. He might actually win this across the board. Mina had quite a bit of faith in Izuku with none of the girls denying. I'll believe it when I see it. That shitty loser can't even catch a ball. What hope does he have against trials taken by barbarian BITC? Bakugo was cut short with 6 spears pointed at his neck. Finish that sentence and you die. Momo pointed this out with little emotion to make the ash blonde remain quiet and watch. All right, time for the first trial. Maruko shouted as you brought out a bow and arrow. Maruko pulled the arrow back in the bow before shooting it out of the arena and into the jungle. Your first trial is to search for that arrow and hunt for the biggest game in that area. The bigger the game and the cleaner the kill, the more likely you'll succeed. Wait, I'm supposed to kill something with my bare hands. To be honest, most amazing women have some kind of weapon going into this. Since you're an exception, we have this. Maruko tapped her staff on the ground twice, creating a thunderous echo through the stadium. Quickly Momo and Itsuka rush out from behind her with 2 weapons. Momo holding a recurve bow and Itsuka holding a war club. They present the 2 weapons for Izuku to choose from. Choose wisely, Maruko recommends. Izuku stares at the wooden club and bow before he strikes up an idea. Can I combine the 2 weapons into one? He asks. Maruko raises an eyebrow before motioning for Izuku to continue with his plan. Taking his machete, he cuts off the butt end of the war club, separating it from the larger mass of wood at the top. With the knowledge the others had taught him with knot tying, he uses the machete to carve away at the handle end, creating grooves and notches in the wood. He uses twine and vines to fasten the bow to the front end of the club handle. With the excess wood he carves a trigger to release the bow string from the grooves in the wood. In a little less than 20 minutes of carving and tying he has made himself a crossbow. I want to use this. We call these crossbows and they're a lot stronger than conventional bows and arrows. Not to mention, Izuku says before pausing, pulling back the string and knocking it in the groove of the wood. It can be preloaded and drawn back without having to pull the bow string back and raise the bow and then aim. All I have to do with this is aim and hit the little trigger I made here with the vine and excess wood. He explains. Najire, Yukio and Maruko herself were extremely impressed that he was able to create something from 2 different weapons. I'll allow it mainly cause I wanna see what it can do. Anyway, let us begin. Izuku was given several arrows before a conch was blown to signal the beginning of the trial. Izuku ran in the general direction of the arrow trying to find it. Okay, if I think of the angle and the speed in which the arrow went, it should be not that far ahead. Izuku ran deeper in the woods before he heard something. He hid before seeing a bear growling in anger. It seemed to be limping a bit for Izuku to notice the arrow in his paw. When the bear was far enough away, Izuku began panicking. Why did it have to fall on a bear? The young boy took a few deep breaths before thinking to himself. It's okay Izuku, you can do this. You're smart and you know how to hunt. Izuku smiled weakly before correcting himself. I know how to hunt fish. What am I doing here? Izuku walked out while taking a deep breath. He then had an idea. I got it. He immediately went to the creek to grab a few vines to make a small makeshift fishing net before following the bear tracks. He found the bear near a creek trying to catch fish for him to prepare his next stage of the plan. Izuku threw the net of fish out for the bear to notice and walk over. Immediately, he started to sit down and enjoy the meal in front of him while Izuku aimed carefully. If I don't get him, I'm screwed. With one shot, Izuku shot the bear in the neck to sever its major arteries and make it fall to the ground within a few seconds. That was easier than I thought. Izuku walked towards the bear to notice it was rather large. And now I have to carry I don't know, 300 pounds bear back. Wait, I have super strength now. Izuku picked the bear up, activating his quirk to lug the beast back to the arena. Hopefully the other tests are as easy as this one was. Alright, now it's time for the next test everyone. Maruko shouted this for everyone to be on edge seeing Izuku enter in with a large bear. The next trial will be a test of your agility. You'll go around the village while surviving obstacles we placed along the way. Your goal is to make it back here within this amount of time. A giant hourglass was brought out that looked as if it was 30 minutes from what Izuku could gather. This tool is made by one of our Amazon sisters that specializes in this type of stuff. Our very own Mei Hatsume. Everyone began clapping for a woman with pink dreadlocks and what looked like golden eyes with pluses in them. Alright, whenever you're ready, we can start turning this baby over. The pink-haired woman stated this with excitement while patting the hourglass. You ready to start? Izuku nodded before taking a running position. Yukio hit a giant gong to signal the test to begin for Izuku to charge outside of the arena. While running, Izuku noticed that the area was worn down to make it somewhat easy for him to keep on track. I wonder what those obstacles are. While in mental thought, Izuku heard what sounded like a boulder rolling nearby. Reaching a trench, the greenhead noticed what looked like a field full of boulders sliding around as a way to hinder his path. How are they moving without any issue? In the distance, Pixie Bob was seen dancing and moving her arms to use her quirk. Watching the boulders slide around, Izuku realized that he'd be a pancake if he doesn't time it right. Okay, so I need to be fast and careful about timing. He held a sprinting position before watching the boulders carefully. When he deemed it the right moment, Izuku charged in with his quirk active to cross the area as fast as he could. When he reached the middle of the area, the boulders began coming back towards him to make him panic a bit. I'm gonna die. Narrowly escaping the last, Izuku was able to cross the area in one piece. Are these women insane or something? WHO in their right mind would do something like that. Izuku continued his run towards the next obstacle. This one was strangely a straightaway without any form of obstacle as far as he could tell. This is weird. Izuku falls into a pit and just survives falling by latching onto the edge of where the ground gave way. Once he came up, he noticed that the area wasn't exactly clear. There were patches of dirt that seemed different than the others. So this is a pitfall area. Seems to make sense. Izuku speed walked while trying to avoid the disturbed dirt in order to prevent any chance he could fall again. When he reached the end of the open area though, he realized the only way to cross was to jump. Channeling his quirk's power inside his legs, Izuku jumped as far as he could to just miss landing on the other side by a hair. Holding on for dear life, Izuku pulled himself out of the pitfall to keep running. We've now reached the halfway mark on the time. Wait, half my time's already gone. That last obstacle made me waste a lot of time. Izuku kept running to find a hill going upwards. Still better than the last. He began to run up before slowing down halfway for some reason. What the? Looking down, Izuku realized that the middle of the hill upwards was covered in what looked like oil. Should have figured this one was too easy. Hey Izuku. The young boy looked up to see Mandalay and Ragdoll up above. Nothing personal, okay. He didn't understand this until after seeing some logs roll down at him. Izuku jumped up and over the first and fell face first due to the slickness of the oil. A second came for Izuku to jump up and over that one. This gives me an idea. A third came for Izuku to wait and time it. When he jumped, he landed right on the log before using his quirk to use the piece of wood as a jumping platform. He then used the next for the same and the next until reaching the top. Izuku ran as fast as he could with the two Amazon women cheering for him. Go Izuku, go! Reaching the fourth, Izuku found himself in an abnormal dust cloud of sorts. I'm so done with constant misdirections. Izuku jumped into the dust cloud to land in what felt like mud. Not the best, but better than the last few. He ran as fast as he could in the mud before hearing snorts from behind him. Turning a bit, Izuku noticed a bunch of boars that seemed kinda ticked at him. They charged at him in the mud area for Izuku to run as fast as he could. Where did they find so many boars? Once at the end, Izuku kept running as fast as he could with the tusked pigs coming at him. It was only until he reached the final obstacle, which was a rock wall that was probably Pixie Bob's doing, that he could finally escape the boars chasing him. Climbing up the wall, Izuku could hear Maruko speak. We're now down to the final minute everyone. Izuku kept climbing as fast as he could before reaching the top. Losing his ability to climb down and still pass, Izuku jumped off the top to land face first near the entrance of the arena. He continued running as fast as he could to make it back to the arena in just enough time. It would appear that our combatant has survived the trials with seconds to spare. Izuku has won the second trial. Everyone cheered as Izuku was seeing stars from his impact with the ground. I'm okay. Just a little. Izuku fell backwards to show spirals in his eyes. No resting. Maruko kicked Izuku's side to make him get up. Now it's time for the third trial. A one-on-one combat trial. You'll be facing one of our Amazon sisters in combat with no armor, no weapons, just you and your quirk. Izuku went red remembering that this was the one he had to fight naked in. And now for your opponent. We normally allow the combatant to pick them, but this one was picked specifically for you. Today, you'll be facing me. Izuku stopped a second to understand what was just said. Wait, you want me to face you? Did I stutter? Now strip. Izuku was shaking as he pulled his clothes off and covered himself to try and avoid anyone from seeing what they shouldn't. Meanwhile, Maruko took everything off with no particular problems. Holy crap, that lady's smoking hot. Mineta was drooling where he was with Kaminari, thanking whatever god he could for seeing what he was seeing. Are those two okay? Toru asked as Aizawa brushed it off as nothing. They're just idiots and perverts. What's a pervert? Sue asked this before noticing the disgusting lust in Mineta's eyes. I think I have my answer, Ribbit. Maruko held a fighting stance with Izuku looking away. You're not gonna beat me if you don't get ready for a fight. I can't even look at you without being embarrassed right now. The gong rang for Maruko to charge at Izuku. She used her leg to kick the green-haired boy before he could react. He was able to dodge this, but noticed something he shouldn't as he ducked under the kick. Ah, why do I have to see these things? I feel like Mineta right now. Maruko came at Izuku again for him to dodge and try to punch the Amazon warrior. This ended with it being dodged and Izuku's hand being grabbed by the rabbit woman. She held it tight to her chest to have Izuku unintentionally feel the softness. Why do I have to deal with this? Maruko began flipping the green-haired boy over to nearly have him hit the ground hard. Luckily at the last minute, Izuku was able to activate his quirk to create an opening to pull away from Maruko's grasp and reclaim his footing. Not bad, kid, but you're gonna need to do more than that to beat me. The rabbit woman charged at Izuku again for him to close his eyes at what he was seeing. I can't do this if I'm facing someone naked. He obtained a solid kick to the face to send him into a wall with the solid rock breaking. Izuku, my baby. Inko ran towards where he collided to notice he was still standing and semi-conscious. I gotta admit, kid, you've gotten way stronger than when we first met. Not really much against me, but it does make this fight more fun. Maruko jumped up to give a downward kick to Izuku. Everyone who was rooting for Izuku held their breath thinking something like this might actually kill him. Izuku, get out of the way. Inko was screaming for her son to move as he just stood there completely silent. When the kick collided, everyone turned away afraid of seeing what they would. As they slowly one by one opened their eyes, the audience noticed Izuku holding Maruko's leg while still in the same position. So you finally found a way to fight me seriously, huh, kid? The rabbit Amazon pulled her other leg back to kick Izuku. This was met however by the greenette pulling Maruko's leg down and kneeing her chin. How is he moving so fast and precise now? Trying to regain some footing, Maruko jumped back to only have Izuku come charging at her again. Nothing should have changed. The kid's still who he is, so why is this happening? Izuku let loose a barrage of punches to force Maruko on the defensive before noticing what was up. She obtained a good look at his eyes to notice Izuku wasn't even fully conscious right now. So that's it. You're not even awake right now. Since your acts are due to your conscious mind, being asleep would make all those issues you're having right now slip away. But how can you manage when I do this? ? Maruko gave a kick to Izuku's side for his hand to block it and use it as a spring before punching Maruko in the face and sending her into the other half of the wall. This one however crumbled and sent the rabbit woman right through the concrete. Maruko was beaten. Our winner is Midoriya. The crowd cheered as Izuku fell backwards with a broken arm and his body covered in bruises and cuts. He may have won, but Izuku was unable to press forward with the trials as is. Few hours later. What happened? Izuku started to get up groggily to see the 6 girls happy to see him. Izuku. They immediately hugged him for his face to turn completely red. What happened? You blacked out after beating Maruko. Izuku thought about Mina's answer before speaking. I remember facing her and being thrown into a wall, but I don't remember beating her. That's because you actually passed out during that. Maruko was hanging by the back of the room they were in for him to realize something. What about the last trial? Technically speaking, you couldn't go any farther, so that was an immediate fail. But on a positive note, you passed the whole thing after beating me. This comment was given with a smirk by the rabbit woman as Izuku realized he passed the third part, but couldn't do anything to the point they had to fail him during the fourth and final. So what now? We have a ceremony in 2 hours. There's some special food on the side for you. You'll need it in this one. Izuku didn't fully understand. What do you mean? I mean, this ceremony will be the first of many where you'll get to put your seed in these 6 warriors. Izuku went red realizing this. Hope you enjoy your time to rest now, cause you're not getting that while on the podium. Maruko walked out of the wooden hut they were in with Izuku glancing at the girls. So we're really doing this? The girls nodded. . Is my mother or any of the other guys going to see this? Fortunately no. I think I'd die of shame if one of those guys saw me without any of my clothes on doing what we plan to. Ochako said this for Kyoka to chime in a bit. But that ash-blonde woman will be there to help us learn about the act we are going to do. Something tells me this won't end well. Izuku grabbed the food on the side to see it was a soup and some roasted meat on a bone. Taking a bite of it, the greenette seemed to enjoy the taste very well. This is tasty. He took some of the soup as well to feel some satisfaction in it as well. Little did he know that a special herbal remedy was added into both for Izuku to be able to handle the evening to come. With the guys and Inko. Just what the fuck is this ceremony shit you're all talking about? Bakugo was fumed that he couldn't witness whatever the Amazons had in store for Izuku to only be told this was to be something only the Amazons should see. Why am I not allowed to go? Inko asked Yukio, who tried to find the best way to explain it. Well, it's because this is a ceremony where our Amazons get pregnant. But Izuku can't get pre. I think I understand now. The guys looked at Inko, who explained it in the best way. My son is going to give me a grandbaby during this with one of the Amazons. Inko smiled while Kaminari and Mineta grabbed Yukio's leg, crying for her to make an exception. Let us watch, please. This was met with a solid kick before going towards the door. Just so you all are aware, this door will be barricaded until the end of the ceremony. Enjoy the rest of your night. She shut the door to place some heavy logs and boulders in the way before walking down to the ceremonial altar. I wonder just how this ceremony will come to fruition. Izuku found himself at a table with the girls he'd known since the beginning, while others looked at him with interest and somewhat confusion. Not only was he a man with a quirk, but one that passed the Amazon trials by defeating their leader Maruko. Hey Izuku, check it out. Mina got his attention by showing him some meat she had on a skewer. That bear you caught isn't going to waste. She passed him the skewer for the green-haired boy to take a bite from it. Itish would. Nice to know it meets your standards. Isn't too greasy but still has a good amount of flavor. Izuku felt someone lean on his head and something rather soft to be placed on top. He looked up to find Maruko looking down at him. Enjoying how we celebrate these kinds of things. It's a little out of my alley. I'm not really the party type. Just relax and drink this. Maruko passed him a turtle shell made into a bowl of some kind of soup for Izuku to sniff it. Just drink it, ya pansy. Not expecting anything dangerous, Izuku chugged the contents with no real change from him. So what was that? A soup that ash blonde lady you call Mitsuki says boosts stamina. You'll need it in a little bit. Izuku went red, remembering that this is going to lead up to some kind of ceremony where he'll make kids with some of the Amazon warriors. A few more hours passed with Izuku having his fill and enjoying himself for the most part. The girls had also enjoyed this before being told by Yu to walk with them somewhere. Before Izuku could ask them where they were heading, Yukio grabbed him to drag him somewhere else. Wait, where are we going? We need you in proper attire for the ceremony. Wait, what kind of attire? You'll see. The two made it to a stone temple where they walked up what seemed like a mountain of stairs before reaching the top. Inside, they were met with the girls having a loincloth and bandages covering their bodies to force a red tint on Izuku's face. He immediately covered his eyes before being dragged to the other side and forcefully stripped by the dragon Amazon warrior. Wait, stop, I can do this myself. She ignored his pleas and didn't stop until he was wearing a similar attire as the girls. When he walked out, Toru decided to whistle at him, with the other girls adding different commentaries to it. Looking good. Work it, Izuku. Why do I have to wear the bandages too? Tradition. Izuku began to notice a bunch of lights coming this way to realize all the Amazons were following to the temple. Maruko and Mitsuki walked into the temple to make sure everyone was settled before the rabbit woman started to speak. Today marks a new age for our island, my sisters. For unlike before when Lady Nana could offer us children for our future generations, we will now be given them thanks to our newest member of the Amazon tribe, Izuku Midoriya. Everyone was silent as Maruko motioned for Izuku and the girls to walk over. Since his arrival, these six have been with him and learned of his worthiness. Now that the time has come for our next offspring to come to us, it's only right that they become the first to hold these children. We show you this today as a way for you all to learn how it is done outside our island by a man and a woman. Assisting us in this will be our island's guest Mitsuki Bakugo. Everyone watched intently as Maruko turned to Izuku with an indifferent look. Time to show us how you sow your seeds. Wait, I'm still not read. Izuku felt his lower body was a bit more breeze before seeing that Mitsuki pulled his loincloth down. Before the girls could begin, one Amazon in particular spoke up. Stop, she declares. Everyone freezes and turns to a black-haired woman in the audience of the arena. Lady Nana would never choose a man to be her champion. Maruko is lying that he is the chosen one of Lady Nana. Hushed murmurs wash through the crowd in waves, women whispering to each other asking if it could be true. I assure you that it is true. Izuku Midoriya was chosen by her to save our people from a great evil and extinction. Maruko protests, glaring daggers at the woman in the stands for speaking out against this. If you claim it to be true, show us the mark of her champion. Show us the all-seeing eyes of Shimura. She shouts back. In an instant, the clouds go as black as night and a thunder crack is heard reverberating around the jungle. Howling winds and whipping rain tear through the island like a monsoon. An otherworldly impulse takes hold of Izuku. He snaps his attention to the audience and opens his eyes as wide as they can go. Twin magnificent and radiant beams of silver light gleam from his eyes, casting what seems to be a spotlight on the woman who spoke against Izuku being the champion. One by one the women start chanting, Shimura Izuku. Shimura Izuku. Shimura Izuku is heard in low chants through the arena, and the clouds vanish as quickly as they appeared. The Amazon backs away, knowing now that it is undeniable proof Izuku was chosen by their goddess. Now, let us continue the ceremony. And that concludes our objective today. You all will get a chance at Izuku here, but be patient for your turn and be certain you are prepared for this. Thank you for your time tonight. One by one, the Amazons started to leave, with Izuku standing up somewhat tired in most ways except for one place. How am I still ready to go? Remember that soup I told Maruko to feed you? Well, that was kinda more for this in mind. Izuku looked at his aunt with a deadpan look before laying back down. I'm too tired to fight this. Izuku leaned back with the four that were still there, smirking at his kindness and act. The morning after the incident of the ceremony, Izuku began to wake up with a strange feeling between his legs. He started to groan before moving around and noticing that his pants were off and saw Mina between his legs. What's going on? He looked around to see the girls with some strange fluids on their faces. His body started to lose it before realizing now what they had on them. What are you all doing? Mina started to swallow what was in her mouth before answering. Doing something Mitsuki said would help you. It would appear that we didn't do enough yet. Momo states this while glancing at the green-haired boy's lower half. I think that it'll be fine as is. He began moving to his pants to put them on. When he did, he felt Sue latch onto him, pressing her chest on his back. So Izuku, what did you think of last night? Yeah, did you like it? Toru asked with his face going completely red. I did, but let's get ready so Maruko doesn't yell at us. Good point. She wanted us to meet up with her before anything to explain some things. The seven began getting ready before walking outside and heading to Maruko's home. As they came close, the group noticed the guys who came over. You're looking rather well today, Midoriya. Aizawa said this while noticing a strange air around Izuku. Compared to his average introverted self that would just want people not to give him trouble, this was an air of confidence and charisma that was rather unique for Izuku. Thanks. I think what happened last night really helped. Alright fucking nerd, what the hell happened, and you better answer me. Bakugo stated this in a fit for Izuku to instead immediately hide, cower a bit and remain standing at the least. That I don't think is right to talk about. Just tell me, you fucking nerd. We held a ceremony to produce the next offspring of Amazons. Ochako said this bluntly for all the guys to look at Izuku. *PFFT *AHAHAHAHAHA. This loser is gonna be a mom. That's funny as fuck. Not a mom, he'll be the father of our children. Momo says this with a bit of satisfaction for Bakugo to laugh even more. Like the fucking nerd can even do that. He can't even look at a woman in the face without feeling nervous. Ahahaha. Izuku was having enough of this before Mitsuki came over to beat some sense into her son. Will you stop laughing, you idiot? She viciously beat the ash blonde over his head for him to hold it in pain. That hurt, you old hag. Not like you didn't deserve it. The two kept arguing with Iida walking over to Izuku. So did you actually commit sexual intercourse with these girls? Yes. I wouldn't lie about something like that. Did you use any form of protection? The ceremony was meant to make them pregnant. I didn't exactly get the chance. The two kept talking before some of the class screamed at him. Midoriya, you bastard. You got laid while we were under house arrest. Dude, that's so unfair. Kaminari, Mineta, and Shiro shouted this for a bicolored teen to pat Izuku's shoulder. You'll be a great dad, Midoriya. Thanks Todoroki. Let's get a move on Izuku, we don't want to keep Maruko waiting. Right. Izuku ran up to the girls with Bakugo prepared to follow them. Hey, we ain't done here yet, loser. He tried to charge and grab Izuku by the hair. This was only stopped when Izuku judo flipped the ash blonde to the ground with Mina holding a bow loaded with an arrow at his face. Wanna try that again, jackass? She stated this in a death stare, prepared to release the arrow in her fingers. Bakugo takes the hint and walks back to the guys as they leave to continue salvaging pieces to make a ship. Thanks for the save, Mina. Don't worry about it. Besides, the pink-skinned girl came close to Izuku to hold his face close to hers. I wanna see what else we can do together, but we can't if that blonde guy did anything. This spooked Izuku a bit as him and the girls continued their journey to Maruko's home. Once at the entrance, they called in for them to be allowed to enter. Once they did, the rabbit woman smirked, seeing Izuku, to comment. You seem a lot happier today than before. Thanks. I guess last night did more for me than I thought. That's good, cause that'll make us capable of doing more with ya. Sue finally raised her hand up, curious enough to ask Maruko a question. Why are we here? Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Izuku's in your group. Any group assignments you take, he goes with you. The six understood this, with Izuku nodding as well. Good. Now on to why you're all here. This is somewhat an important thing that only Izuku can do. Hearing the rabbit Amazon say this made Izuku question what it exactly was. Lady Nana came to me last night in a dream. She said that her powers were dwindled down to a state even she didn't foresee coming. Because of this, we need to take quick action or risk being in a fight of our lives that our possibility to win is next to nothing. Everyone listened carefully to Maruko as she began. The level of our goddess's power right now is at a dire low, as I said. Because of this, there is nothing keeping the 8 plagues from all coming back to the world of the living at the same time. If they all were to come back, that would also mean the revival of the Lich would be faster. This answer didn't sit right with anyone, especially Izuku, who was supposed to be this great savior of theirs. There must be a way to prevent this. There is, and that's why I had brought you all here. I'm sure you all know how many of our goddesses' way shrines there are. If I remember, she's got 8 on this island. Ochako says this for Maruko to nod. These way shrines work as both a way for us to be protected in the jungle and for us to interact with our goddess without needing to go to the temple. But there is also a third part to this. One she said was important for the prevention of the Lich's revival. When they're active, her power can spread through this island as a cleansing agent to keep her at full capacity. This, however, can only be activated with a quirk she gives to her champion. So I need to visit these way shrines to activate them and lower the revival speed of every one of the plagues in the Lich. Exactly. Izuku took a deep sigh out before showing a face of determination. Okay, what do I have to do when I get to a way shrine? All you gotta do is use your quirk and touch it. This will make the plague that the Lich has on the land in its region dwindle and become next to nothing. When that happens, Lady Nana's power will grow stronger and be able to assist us more. Everyone understood to bow at Maruko before leaving. One last thing, you 7. There was something around one of the way shrines that our sisters couldn't tell what it was. Since there isn't a way to tell what this is, be on guard. I fear it may be an Oni, a harbinger of the end times. Yes, ma'am. The 7 walked out and began preparing for what was to come. As they walked out, Izuku began to think of what was going to happen. So where exactly are the 8 way shrines? Well, the most common you've already seen. The others are located on the beach your classmates hang out around, near a lake where we hunt fish, deep in the woods on the other side of the volcano, in an open field, on top of a mountain, and the last well. Quote. Kyoka trailed off with the last one. Where? It's in the middle of the Dead Lands. The area where the land is corrupt and dead. It's forbidden for us to go there unless it is absolutely necessary. Momo explains this for Sue and Ochako to add on to it. From what members of the tribe say, there are normally some strange creatures that linger in the Dead Lands ribbit. Not only that, but it's almost impossible to breathe in as if the life in you gets sucked out. Nobody lasted over an hour in the Dead Lands and survived. Those that go past are stricken with some kind of illness and die not long after. What are the symptoms of this illness? Izuku asks, pressing his fingers together in thought. Flesh feeling like it's burning, coughing, fatigue, vomiting blood, black growths on the underarms and near the throat and groin. The Black Death. It was a plague that attacked the outside world 700 years ago and wiped out 2/3 RDS the human population. Even now we don't have a cure for it. The girls shuddered hearing this. They have had to bury friends and mothers who succumbed to this wasting plague. Izuku assessed the situation as best he could. So which are the closest to us not counting the last? If I remember, the one that we went to before is the closest, right? Mina asked for Momo to nod. After that one, we can hit the one at the lake, at the open field, on the beach, on the mountain, and then the one in the forest. When that's done, we can begin walking towards the Dead Lands. But what about that thing that's hanging around the way shrine? Maruko said it might be an Oni. Toru asked for Ochako to shrug. I guess we'll find out when we find it. Either way, we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get a move on. Kyoka says this as she leads everyone to the first way shrine. Walking back down the forest, Izuku felt a little happy knowing that things got much better since the last time he went this route with the girls. While heading towards the shrine, he started to make small talk with Sue. So what do you girls normally do for assignments? They're mostly hunting with the occasional offering to Lady Nana. Nothing too significant ribbit. Izuku understood this as he began to notice their trip was rather quick compared to last time. If they were to keep moving the speed they were, they could shave a quarter of the time they used before during the first trip off. Few hours later, we're here. Kyoka says this, noticing the way shrine in front of them. Izuku got in front to begin walking towards it. So all I gotta do is use my quirk and touch the shrine. Seems simple enough. He began to channel his quirk through his body with lightning arcing off him before placing a hand on the stone shrine. When he did, the inside began to glow green and send out some kind of green energy field of some sorts. That was weird ribbit. Is that going to happen with all the shrines? Ochako asked for everyone to shrug. Either way, we need to keep moving to the next shrine. We've got a lot of ground to cover and we need to do this as fast as possible. Keep in mind that we don't have the time to stop and question this. Momo led everyone towards the Lake Way Shrine, which only really took an hour of a trip. Once there, they noticed the Way Shrine in the center of the lake with a raft to the side. Well, let's start moving. We don't have all day. Toru states this with a little excitement for some reason, with Mina following suit in a chipper tone as well. Why do I feel like something bad is gonna happen? The seven began paddling out to the shrine to get about midway. Once they were in the center, Sue began to feel a bit uncomfortable. Guys, I have a bad feeling. Many knew from experience that their frog Amazon's gut instincts for danger were on the money to be on guard. Izuku immediately heard something in the trees to look around. Whatever it is, it sounds big. A shadow of something came at them for everyone to prepare for the worst. As light shined on it, the image of an insanely large owl came towards them. Hoot! Is that an owl? What's it doing out during the day? He looks so fluffy. Look at the size of him. He's gotta be pushing over half my size ribbit. Everyone marveled at the overgrown bird of prey with it walking over to Izuku. Be wary of the water, woo. Wait, who said that? Izuku couldn't finish his question as a large snake came out of the water to try and attack Momo. Toru was able to push her out of the way to be taken down below the surface of the lake instead. Toru. Izuku was angered now. In this act, he activated his quirk to pull the snake's head back out from down below, with their invisible friend still fighting to keep away from becoming its next meal. Now angered, The girls began to unleash hell on the serpent's head and rip it to shreds before Momo sliced the head of the snake off its several-meter-long body. Toru fell into the water and swam back to the boat a tad shaken from the act. "Are you okay?" Izuku was worried for the invisible girl as she tried to brush it off as nothing. "I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I was able to avoid it biting me, so it's no big deal." Izuku let a deep sigh out before helping her back onto the boat and continuing towards the center. Once there, Izuku activated his quirk as he did before and had the same burst of green energy go through the area. "So does anyone know why we've got like a 3-foot owl hanging around us?" "Woo hoot, I'm only 2 foot 8 inches to be fair." "Who said that?" Izuku looked around with the owl perching on the way shrine behind him. "Hoot, I did." "Ah, talking owl. What are you talking about? All I can hear is it hooting at us." Ochako asked for Izuku to look at the owl for an answer. "Allow me to explain. I am a spirit animal that was made by Lady Nana to serve you, Izuku Midoriya. She had found the best animal to communicate with you, to which I was created. The reason only you can hear me is because I am connected to your soul through Lady Nana's powers. Though it is troubling, I must ask you to relay this to the others for them to understand." "Sounds legit." Izuku turned to the girls who thought he somewhat lost it speaking to an owl with it sounding like it was speaking back to him in their ears. "To make a long story short, this is a spirit animal Lady Nana made to help. Since it's connected to me, only I can speak to it and understand what it's trying to say." The owl pecked Izuku to get his attention. "Woo-hoo, I am a female owl, thank you." "Okay, you don't need to peck me to get that across. Anyway, I'm the only one that can understand her." "Okay then, what's her name?" Kyoka asks for him to turn to the giant screech owl for her to shrug in unknowing. "Apparently she doesn't have a name. Let's call her Hoots then." "Hoot, if you are fine with it, then okay." "Hoots it is." Hoots flew over to the boat to perch on it while everyone followed along. Amazing how Lady Nana can make this spirit animal. Mina was looking at the large owl with excitement as it flies over and perches itself on Izuku's head. "Woo, be wary of the journey to the next shrine. There is a monster lurking in the field. Apparently there's something near the next way shrine we need to be careful about." Izuku talks for the owl as they continue to the end of the lake to continue their journey. "So what exactly is this monster, Hoots?" Sue asked for the large owl to answer. "Hoot hoot, I do not know. All I know is that it is something rather large and dangerous." Apparently she doesn't know much except it's something big and dangerous. That narrows it down. Kyoka states this with some dissatisfaction in her tone. Hoots gets off Izuku and flies up through the trees to somewhere. "You know, I'm amazed we haven't asked this yet. Izuku, what is your quirk exactly, Ribbit?" Sue questions as the green-haired boy thinks about it. "My quirk is called One for All." "Why?" Mina asked with Izuku explaining. "I'm not exactly sure. All I know is that there's more to this than it feels." "Okay, then what exactly is it that you know about?" "All I know right now is that it enhances my strength. If I overuse it though, my bones break from the force of the rebound." Momo winced as her question was answered. "So what exactly is the amount you can use without this?" Ochako questioned as Izuku explained. 8%. Seriously? Izuku nodded as the girls were somewhat surprised. Not long after, Hoot came back to Izuku and roosted on his arm. "Woo, there is some type of unknown beast up ahead. Tread lightly. Apparently there's something up ahead that we need to be very careful about." The girls understood as they took extremely strong precautions. When they got near a clearing, they looked around to see nothing around. "So where is this thing?" Toru asked for them to slowly leave the bush they were behind for safety. "This was where you saw it, right, Hoots?" She nodded with nobody seeing anything in sight. "Well anyway, there's the way shrine." Momo points this out as they kept walking. They stopped when the sound of something was coming from the forest with birds flying away and what sounds like trees coming down. Oh no, a giant red monster came out to nearly stomp on Izuku. He avoided it for them to look up and see a red-skinned demon look down at them. "Just what the hell is that thing?" Izuku froze, realizing what it was. It's an Oni. By Bol Aguu Kuni Gurch. It bellows, drawing a massive sword larger than any of them are tall. "What's an Oni?" Toru asks, looking at the beast about to attack them. They scatter away in time to avoid being hit, but the monster seems to target Izuku in particular. It's going after Izuku. The Oni charged and swung at the green-haired boy in hopes to kill, but luckily Izuku was able to evade thanks to his training with Maruko and her Amazon comrades. Step off, you overgrown freak. Ochako and Mina came charging in with a large amount of strong acid and a weightless tree. Instead of evading, the Oni takes it head-on with its arm to shatter the tree and has some of its flesh burn away. Trying to take down what's facing it, the large monster goes to slice at the girls for Izuku to give a strong punch to the face and sends the monster sliding back. This did little at the moment, but it was enough for everyone to regroup and hide in the forest in hopes to at least come up with some kind of plan. The monster didn't let up, however, as it came towards them and followed the group into the forest as well. Once able to find a hiding spot and realizing the Oni was far enough away to not hear them, Izuku started to explain what the beast was. This is messed up. How is an actual demon alive right now? I thought they were legends. Izuku. Momo puts her hand on his shoulder to see the girls somewhat confused. That thing is a demon called an Oni. They're monsters of legend where I'm from that are known to be brutal killers. I don't even know how something like that is even alive. To be completely honest, I thought that they were made up to keep misbehaving children in check, kinda like a Japanese version of the boogeyman. The girls thought of this with Izuku calming down a bit. So is there any actual weakness to Oni? Sue asks for Izuku to think back on what he knew of the demons. That weapon it has. That's what we need to get it to let go. If we do, then the third eye of it will be shown and we can take it down if we destroy that. Great. So we need to take a giant weapon away from a monster that could literally eat us for lunch. Kyoka states this in an unemotional way. You got a better option. Momo points this out for the ox-cord girl to open her mouth for a second before stopping to just go along with it. Alright, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go out and lure the Oni near that one river we found before. When this happens, we'll have Momo and Ochako take down as many trees and keep them in the air so that we can place them on top of it when the monster comes up. Meanwhile, Kyoka, Toru, and Sue will pull the Kanabo out of the Ona's hand with Mina using acid to weaken the beast's ability to hold onto it. When this happens, me, Momo, Ochako, and Mina will target the third eye simultaneously for the Oni to not be able to defend itself. If all goes according to plan, the monster should be able to die after that. I hope. Not many were happy to hear this answer as Izuku wasn't even fully certain this was going to work. Either way, they'll get the answer if it does or doesn't when they do this. Izuku came out of the hiding area and they had to look around. Where did that thing go now? Izuku stopped when he heard something bellow from behind him and see the demon come to attack him. Oh crap. The green-haired boy ran into the forest with the Oni chopping down trees as it pursued. Tani Sun's Lichig Tejik Bolno, I don't know what you're saying. If there was any time Izuku was panicking the most during his time on the island, this would probably rank in his top 3 under the spiders on his back and the fact he'll be the father of many children. Hey ugly, I bet you can't catch me. Izuku was shaking as he needed to make sure the monster was following him, hoping to avoid it from wandering off and finding the girls. Eventually, Izuku found himself near the stream with the girls in position the moment the Oni came with him. Okay, now all we need is the... Izuku was cut off with the monstrous demon nearly slicing him in two with his weapon. Hope this works. Ochako. Now, release. A large amount of trees came down from the sky covering the Oni with it trying to slice them and just becoming more trapped. Sue. The frog girl came next to grab a hold of the Ona's weapon and tug with all hers, Toru's, and Kyoka's might. Meanwhile, Mina shot as high of a corrosive acid she could make at the demon in hopes to either burn its hand off, or force it to let go. To say the monster didn't let the latter happen was an understatement as the pink-skinned girl kept burning the Ona's hand until it came off with the bones and what was left of the tendons around it still attached. In a fit of rage, the monster broke out of the wooden prison showing a prominent third eye in the center of its forehead. Everyone. The head. Izuku picked up a sharp rock he had with the girls holding a spear to attack it and make blood spew out of the eye. The Oni wasn't down yet as it threw the girls off and tried to rip Izuku off with its only hand. Refusing to let go until the task was done, Izuku used his quirk as best he could to force a spear down as far into the eye and pierce right through its skull and out the back. The monstrosity finally stopped to kneel and fall over. The girls began to recompose themselves to run over and make sure that Izuku wasn't hurt. "You okay?" Izuku was panting in fear as he answered Kyoka's question. "Why yeah, just a little shaken up is all. What about you girls? I don't expect those tosses were pleasant. We're alive and not hurt for the most part." Mina says this with a thumbs up for Izuku to let a sigh of relief out. "That's good." Izuku began to glance down and see the red demon they just killed begin to turn into darkness before disappearing, leaving only the weapon and a red mask that looked similar to the Ona's face to make it obvious they faced whatever it was. What just happened? I don't know. Maybe it was some kind of different being or something. Come to think of it, yokai aren't exactly flesh and bone, so maybe this was kinda like an evil spirit or something. Izuku kept thinking of possible means to begin a mumble storm that somewhat made the girls laugh a bit. Anyway, the main problem is gone. Let us return to the Way Shrine and finish what we had come this way to do. Momo states this for Izuku to come out of his mumble spree. He stops however to pick up the Oni mask and discovers it was strangely a perfect fit on his face. He wasn't certain what he'd do with that or what the girls will do with a weapon that's too big for anyone to really use, but they'd find purpose for these things or at least make them into victory trophies to say they won against an Oni. As the group returned to the open field, Izuku walked to the Way Shrine to see Hoots positioned right on top of it. "Hoot hoot, nicely done on defeating the demon. Thanks, but that whole thing was kinda touch and go with us just getting kinda lucky. I pretty much didn't have a backup plan if we failed." As Izuku spoke to Hoots, the feeling of unease knowing the girls couldn't fully understand the conversation began to grow in them. "Not trying to rush you or anything, but we are on a time schedule here, Izuku." Kyoka butts in to state this for the green-haired boy to remember that they weren't there to socialize. "Alright, you may want to move to somewhere else, Hoots." The giant owl flew over to perch itself on Momo's shoulder for her to nearly fall off balance due to the excess weight she had on one side immediately. Meanwhile, Izuku activated his quirk to touch the Way Shrine and have it shine with a green wave of whatever it was being released from the shrine. "Okay, that's 3 shrines. Time to head towards the beach." Ochako states this as the group continued their journey to their next destination. At the beach, as the group of 7 found themselves on the beach, the group ran into Izuku's class with some not exactly being fond of seeing Izuku after the morning's little issue. Hey guys. Izuku says this sheepishly as the class's explosive blonde and the class perverts glare daggers at him. They stop when they witness the oversized sword in his arms along with the owl perched near the handle of the blade resting. "Midoriya, where have you acquired such a weapon as well as the owl?" Iida asks this for Izuku to look up and try to find the best course of words. "Would you believe me if I told you that me and 6 probably pregnant women killed an Oni?" He replies before pulling out the iron mask of the Oni and placing it over his face. "You mean those things in Legends? There's no way you can do that, man." Shiro and Kaminari states this with Mineta walking towards the girls. "So you 3 are gonna become MILFs. Nice. Reminds me of the time this guy had to come to me for sexual." Mineta is cut off by a ground-shaking thud. Turning to his right he sees the several meter long and 4 feet from blade to spine wide sword cut cleanly through a tall tree. The cursed steel emblazoned with purple fire. "Mineta, before you finish that, I have something I need to show you." Izuku began to breathe in before purple flames started to come out of the Oni mask. Mineta nearly escaped becoming human barbecue and zips his mouth shut. "So what are you all doing here?" Their teacher asks for Izuku to explain the best he could in a quick answer. "To make a long story short, I'm trying to go around the Way shrines on the island to purify them." "Interesting. How do you do that?" "I'll show you." Izuku walked up to the Way Shrine on the beach to activate his quirk and touch it. Like the others, a wave of energy came out and was sent in all directions for the guys to look in amazement. To think Midoriya would be able to do such amazing things. This is truly a spectacle. Iida comments for Ochako to nod beside him. "To be honest, I kinda think Izuku is straight up awesome in general." None of the Amazons denied this as Izuku and them began to get ready to leave. "Well, I hate to cut this short, but we have 2 other shrines we need to hit. Oh, and before I forget, Mr. Aizawa, have you found our ship's hazmat suit?" "Why?" "Well, one of our stops is in an area that is kinda unsafe." If I had a hazmat suit, I could go in and do what I had to do easily without any issue. Aizawa somewhat understood to walk over to a soaked box to pull out the destroyed suit. Unfortunately, it didn't survive the wreckage and is kinda useless. There goes that idea. Not necessarily. If I were to know how to make the suit, I should be able to recreate ones for each of us. Momo points this out with the scruffy-looking teacher somewhat interested. So you can create stuff with that power you have. For the most part. There are some drawbacks however. Momo turned to the group of 6 and spoke. I'll remain here to begin the process. Since you would need to double back anyway to get to the way shrine we need the suits for. Kyoka, do you remember the way to the other 2 from here? The ox-cord Amazon nodded. Then there should be no worries. Alright then, let's get a move on. We're burning daylight. 1 sec. Izuku walked over to Kaminari and Mineta with a rather kind-hearted smile. Just so we're clear, if either one of you do anything at all to Momo while she's around you. Izuku activated his quirk and gave a death glare. No demon alive will be able to inflict the amount of torture I put you through. The 2 boys practically wet themselves hearing this be said before Izuku walked away happily with the other 5. He's rather protective of you all. I honestly don't think he needs to be. But that doesn't mean I don't find it rather enjoyable knowing he treats us with such respect. Momo says this to Aizawa as they begin going through the process and the makeup of the hazmat suit in order to get a fully functional one. As the group went their separate ways, Izuku and the girls followed Kyoka to the mountain area where the next way shrine was. Here, the group would have to scale a mountain with several areas where they'd have to literally climb a cliff to do. The group looked at the massive mountainside with some concern climbing up to it and not falling to their deaths. So any ideas on what we should do to get up without any of us dying? Mina looked at Izuku with everyone looking over towards him as well. Without any specific tools, I got nothing. He looked around before realizing that if anything, he could at least help avoid people from falling. He went into the forest to grab a few feet of wisteria vine. What are you doing? Tie this to each of you while leaving some space between for you all to climb. This is one of the strongest vines in the world that's perfect for climbing. If one of us falls, we can at least catch them and avoid anyone getting seriously hurt. The girls did as Izuku asked with Sue taking the lead now. Unlike everyone else, she was a born natural with climbing to the point it was almost second nature to her. The girls followed her with Izuku struggling to scale the giant cliff. Pick up the pace. We wanna get to the way shrine this month. Mina shouted this for Izuku to struggle holding on a bit. I'm not a mountain climber. I never took it up as a hobby. Also, why isn't Ochako using her quirk on most of us? It would help so much in that department. If I did, the atmosphere we're reaching would cause really bad issues for me. For now, we just have to deal with climbing. The group continued as fast as they could with Toru grabbing rock that wasn't soundly connected to the mountain and nearly falling. The only thing that saved her was the vine that was connected to her that was held by Izuku. Thanks. Don't thank me until we're back on stable ground. Izuku was struggling to keep himself and Toru from falling and burdening Sue with their weight. Once the invisible girl got back on the side of the mountain, they continued on with little issues going to the quarterway. Once they got on a stable plateau, Izuku fell over exhausted before the girls looked at a cave. This should take us to about 3/4 of a way to the shrine. Just be careful of bats and snakes in here. Kyoka states this while Hoots perches on a rock. Hoot. Be wary of the serpents in here. They are rather poisonous, look out for black crow feathers. If you see them then the monster is near. Hoots warns. Izuku looks about the plateau for the crow feathers finding a lone feather near the edge of the cliff. He picks it up and walks back to the others showing them what he found. Hoots gave me another warning. A monster and crow feathers. Izuku says showing the feather to the 5 girls with him. The feather in his hand causes the girls' blood to run cold. Tangu. Kyoka mutters seeing the feather in Izuku's hand. He arches an eyebrow hearing this. Tangu are bird demons, former sentinels of heaven that have dishonored themselves either in battle or in their code. If it is anything like the Oni we fought earlier, this will be a problem. Do you still have the mask of the Oni? She asks, taking the feather from Izuku's hand and throwing it away rather quickly. The green-haired boy reaches into his pocket to pull it out. Right here, but why? Izuku questions before hooking the mask to the tunic he is wearing. You either have to have the breath of an Oni or the weapon of one to kill a Tangu, burning all its feathers, and crows should do it. If not, then we're up shit creek without a paddle. So you all knew of a fallen angel soldier, but not of a demon from hell. Well, this one is an actual demon, but, go figure. Mina says this while making a small fire for them to see into the cave. Damn it, won't light. Izuku, you mind? She holds the torch up for Izuku to breathe fire onto it and light it. Putting the mask over his face, he exhales a violet-purple flame onto the torch, causing it to burn the same color. Niece, let's get going. Kyoka leads once again with Mina behind her with the torch. Izuku makes a few more for Toru and Sue to carry as they were beside or in the middle of the group. Hoots roosted on Izuku's shoulder while they traveled into the dark cave. This sucks. I can't see anything past my hands. I hear you, Kyoka. Times like these are when I'm probably more scared than a rabbit that got caught in a snare. Ochako states this with a strange noise coming from behind them. What was that? Hoot, I feel something sinister nearby. Well, that's helpful. What did she say? Hoot said that there was something sinister around. Caw caw. The sound of crows was heard in the cave for everyone to huddle a tad closer together. Okay, not eager to find or fight this thing here. Toru started to shake a little with Sue's animal instincts beginning to go haywire. What kind of weapon does it use? It shoots crows at you and has a 7 feet long halberd. Great. More giant unwieldy weapons trying to reduce me to paste. Just what we needed. Izuku, Kyoka, I think we need to get out of this cave right now, Ribbit. Everyone looked over to their frog friend for her to almost lose all the color in her body. Sue, are you okay? Kyoka couldn't stand being unable to know what's around them anymore, to put her aux cords into the ground to listen for anything. We're surrounded. By what? Everyone asked in unison. Snakes. Izuku breathed fire a bit to see a bunch of pit vipers around them. Well, fuck. You can say that again. Wait, I got this. Kyoka pulled out a small flute to play. As she did, the snakes began to become mesmerized by the sound and shake their heads to the melody. So she's the snake charmer now. Shut up and move. Izuku, scorch any that get too close. These are 3-step vipers. I'll tell you why they're called that after we get out of this. Kyoka stopped a moment to shout at the group. Ochako points out what snake they were dealing with, before continuing. A few vipers began to get close for Izuku to make them into roasted reptile. Fortunately, the exit wasn't that far away for them to walk through with little to any problems. As they got into sunlight, they sighed a breath of relief knowing that they were out of the snake trap. So why are they called 3-step vipers? Izuku asked Ochako for her to explain. Because, if they bite you, you take 3 steps and then you die. Oh, good to know. There's another poisonous thing on this island that I need to avoid. I think I need to find a rest stop after hearing that. As for when this is over, everyone here is coming to live with me in Japan. How have you lived on this island for centuries when literally everything can kill you? It's like Australia but on steroids. Quote. Because we kill whatever tries to kill us as well. Izuku facepalmed, having such a blatant answer given to him. Either way, I'm going to find a rock to break. Izuku walked away to relieve himself of the stress he had and the fluids that were about to escape him any second. Now I know why you didn't tell him when we were surrounded by snakes. Mina comments with Ochako nodding her head in affirmation. He quickly finished to return for them to walk up a path towards the final quarter of their journey. Once they got to a slanted incline, Sue took the lead one final time for them to use the same act they did before. Unlike before, however, they were able to make it to the top and see a small opening. They entered in to see a giant open area that was naturally formed into the mountain itself. Amazing. It's like a giant dome inside the mountain. That's right, this is an extinct volcano. At the center is the Way Shrine. So let's get a move on. Kyoka points this out while they reach the safety of the ground. As they walked to the center, the sound of crows were heard around them cawing at them. Izuku, we may wanna hurry. I'm not up for fighting a Tangu today. Kyoka was visibly scared with the girls not that far from her level of fear. Izuku agreed to rush the Way Shrine before being attacked by a murder of crows. That is actually what a group of crows is called. They circled him, practically making him blind due to the amount of crows blotting out the sun. Izuku. The girls shouted before the murder flew away to make a form of a giant winged beast. The monstrosity looked down, gazing down through the slits of a large-nosed mask, before noticing Izuku. Then the Tangu drew his weapon. So this is a Tangu. The girls nodded before it dived at the green-haired boy with intent to pierce through him. Heen mini alligig uimulj zerkeldig yum. Why does everything sound like it's speaking gibberish to me? Must I use this guttural language? You dare disturb my flock and tread on my grounds. Trespasser, you shall die. The Tangu lunges at Izuku, slashing at him for the halberd to narrowly miss, cutting a tall tree in two. We aren't here to disturb you. We only came because we wanted to help this land as a whole. Disiever, I serve the Dark One. You shall perish. The Tangu shouts, its chest producing an ominous red LGHT before a new murder of crows erupts from its feathered flesh, flying on a suicide mission at Izuku. He jumps out of the way of the murder before slinging the Oni mask over his face and inhaling a large amount of air. With the gust of a gale, an inferno of cursed fire erupts from the maw of the mask, incinerating the murder of crows in moments. The smell of charred feather and burnt flesh in the air as the flames burn even the ashes of the crows into nothing. That masked boy, where did you get it? It belongs to the great Onibaba, conqueror of the hells. It tried to kill me and the girls behind me. We had no choice but to stop it in order to avoid it from killing us. Liar. No human can kill Onibaba. Only gods can slay the Oni. It shrieks, swinging its halberd around violently, falling swaths of trees and plants in its wake. The edge of the blade barely clips a curl of Izuku's hair as he dodges the cursed blade. I don't wanna pick a fight with you. Then perish, foolish mortal, so that the Dark One cannot revive. The Tangu came for one final attack on Izuku, with him finally losing his ability to run. He was in a corner with nowhere to run nor hide. Guess I have no choice. Izuku started to activate his quirk to hold its power inside his arm. He pulled it back before dashing forwards and slamming his fist into the Tengu's chest. Meanwhile, the polearm of the halberd collided with his shoulder and back, causing him immense pain as he felt his shoulder blade break from the force. Both were forced to kneel down for a moment as the Tangu realized what happened. Remembering what Kyoka said before, he channels his quirk to his torso, taking in as much air as possible. He expels it all with as much force as he can, creating a plasma torch through the mouth of the mask. The purple flames are so hot they turn white. The plasma being breathed through the mask bores a hole through the heart of the Tangu, the cursed flames enveloping the entire body much like the crows. The Tangu turns to ash in a matter of moments, leaving behind its mask and halberd that crashes to the ground with a loud clang. Holy crap, that was insane. Izuku slowly gets up, with his injury affecting him greatly. He started to fall over before being caught by Sue and Mina. It's okay, Izuku. We gotcha. Kyoka grabbed the mask to hand Izuku, with Ochako making the halberd weightless to carry. They then walked to the way shrine to activate Izuku's quirk and finish what they came there to do. 2 left. The group began to see a bit of the stone opening to show a straightaway to the ground, avoiding any and all dangers they faced. Well, that ended rather well for us. At least we don't have to deal with the snakes again. At the tribe, as Izuku and the girls began doing what they could do to avoid an issue for the island, Maruko had begun their work as the chief of the tribe. Upon this, she was met by 3 of her group's members, Mandalay, Ryuko and Yu. Maruko, we have an issue. What is it? I'm busy, so please make it quick. Ryuko began to explain what was the issue as bluntly as possible. The other Amazons believe you should bear the next child of Izuku's. With your power and skill, it is imperative that it is sent to the next generation. Especially after our last tribal child died prematurely. Everyone went silent, remembering how distraught their Amazon sister was over the death of her child. To know something had to be done just so they could trust Izuku and know he's someone they can trust. Very well. After they succeed in their quest, I'll be one of the women to obtain his child next. The 3 women nodded before Maruko stopped them. But in order for the next ceremony, I believe 2 more should be chosen. On cue, an Amazon fell out of a tree that they were beside to overhear the whole conversation. Perfect timing. You'll be one of them, Nimari. Maruko says with a smirk on her face, seeing the somnambulist holder on the floor. The position she is in suggests she fell on her head with her feet in front of her touching the floor. She quickly dusts herself off, then blushes, realizing she has not only been found out but also is going to birth one of Izuku's children. As the six returned down off the mountain, they continued their journey to the second-to-last waypoint. This one was one deep inside the forest that, through a logical standpoint, shouldn't be as difficult. At least, that's what they all hoped. Ah, why am I always attacked by wild animals here? Izuku found himself running away from a horde of wild boar trying to kill him. From what the girls could understand, the way shrine was beside a home of the tusked hogs who weren't exactly fond of others moving into their territory. I'm literally not trying to hurt you. I just came here to do something to help this island. The green-haired boy was cut off by Sue's tongue, pulling him into the trees almost instantly. Not sure where their enemy was, the boars began to head out across the area trying to find Izuku. While this happened, Izuku regained his breath in the trees with the girls. Pant, thanks for the help, Sue. Don't mention it. The girls began to find vines they could use to swing back down near the way shrine before passing Izuku one. Use this. Kyoka gave him a vine for the greenette to look at it. I've never swung on a swing, there's no way I can swing on a vine. Don't be a baby, watch the professionals. Mina smirks before jumping off to swing down onto the ground. See, it's easy. One by one, the girls swung down to solid ground, with Izuku being the last one. So it's either wait here until I'm hungry enough where I'll try this and possibly face the boars again, or swing down and possibly fall onto solid ground with fear being in me. Izuku, you have about 5 seconds to come down here or we fall the tree. Crap baskets. 1, 2, 5. Mine exclaims before spraying her acid at the base of the tree. What happened to 3 and 4? Mina doesn't even know the number that comes after 3. Trying to avoid being hurt, Izuku used the vine to swing down. Unfortunately, he didn't position himself right and went right into the base of another tree face first. You okay, Izuku? Toru came over to see the green-haired boy with a notable red spot down the center of his face and body. Rather disoriented. Did anyone see a fairy, or is that Thud? Good job, Mina. You broke him. Ochako chastises before tapping him with her quirk and draping him across her back. How was I supposed to know he'd actually jump? It was either jump and risk a possible injury or stay and actually get hurt. To be honest, I'd choose the earlier option if I was him. Kyoka clarifies before they keep going to the way shrine. Once back, Ochako puts Izuku on the ground for a small piglet to come out of the bushes. The green-haired boy is woken up by it sniffing and licking his face to come face to face with the little thing. Hello. Snort snort, you made a friend. The piglet looked up to the girls before squealing for some reason for a mother boar to come out of the bushes. The piglet then ran back towards its mother to hide under her legs. In fear of it preparing to charge, the girls readied their arrows to shoot the mother. Wait, she's protecting her baby. Izuku got up to stand between both. He then got over to the way shrine to activate his quirk and finish their business there. As he did, clovers began to grow around the way shrine for him to pick up some. He brought them near the mother and her youngling, where she was very skeptical of him remaining in the attack position. Looking around, Izuku plucks a mango from one of the trees and breaks it in half before placing it and the picked clovers on the ground a few paces closer to the boar. It seems skeptical at first but relaxes its guard due to the smells of the sweet fruit before walking over and munching on it. Let's leave them be, we don't need to anger her anymore. Mina says, motioning for them to leave the way shrine. Should we drop one of the others to bring back? I don't see why not. Boars don't mate for life and the fathers don't stay with the mother and piglets. As they spoke, they heard the small piglet squeal as if it was trying to say goodbye to them before it and the mother returned to the forest to continue their lives. After skinning and gutting a male boar they had shot with an arrow, the party of 6 returned to the village to see if Momo had finished the hazmat suits. With the help of Aizawa and Inko, she had managed to make 2 of them but was drained of all her lipids. The complex chains that make up the air filtration, plastics and silicon in the suit took a toll on her quirk to even make 1. It would take time for her to make more, and that was something they could spare for the moment. In the meantime, Izuku took to showing the Amazons a new way to prepare the belly of a boar to create something he was sure they would love. Taking an obsidian knife to cut the belly off from the rest of the boar, he cuts off the layer of skin exposing the fat cap. From there he takes sea salt, molasses and sugar from the sugar canes to create a rub for the belly. After he helps create a wood fire with the wood from the fallen mango tree that Mina had melted and he dragged back, before creating a rack for the meat to smoke on. This is something enjoyed the world over. I'm not sure how well it will turn out since this was a wild boar, but hopefully this will be just as good. He says as he sets out the straps of belly meat on the wooden rack he made over the smoke. What are you making, Izuku? Shouldn't you put it on the fire itself? Rumi questions as she walks over with the Amazons closest to her. I'm making bacon. It's smoked meat with the belly fat of a hog or pig rubbed with spices and sugars, then after you cook it with a hot pan and eat it. Trust me, you all will love this, everyone across the world does. He says with a smile as he stokes at the wood to make sure the fire isn't too hot as to burn the meat. Eventually, after several hours of smoking, a sizzle was heard coming from the cured bacon grilling in a cast iron pan, with the guys looking over to have some smile. All right, bacon. It's been a while since I've had some food from back home. I don't care if it tastes horrible in comparison. Hurry it up, nerd. I'm hungry. Everyone looked at Bakugo before Izuku spoke up. Just because of that, who's getting your share? The giant owl roosted on the rock beside them for the Amazons that weren't aware of what Hoots was to look at the others for explanation. So who's the owl? Maruko asked for Izuku to answer. This is Hoots, a spirit animal Lady Nana made for me. I understand her and she's helped us a lot to take on an Oni and a Tangu. Mina grabbed the masks to show her the items for the rabbit Amazon to marvel. Impressive. So were these things some of the plagues that Lady Nana has told you of? Screech. No. Gah, she's really loud. You shouted this while holding her ears. Apparently they weren't. Kinda hope they were though, since that would have made my life 10 times easier. Izuku said before finding some pieces of bacon were ready to set aside. All right, bacon time. Kaminari tried to grab a piece before Hoots swooped in to grab the piece to return to the rock she was perched on. Guess you got outfoxed by an owl. The girls snorted a bit at this while Kaminari held some agitation. The piece he was eyeing was taken by an overgrown bird of prey. It's fine, Kaminari, we can make some more later. Here, you can have this piece. Izuku offers him. Kaminari takes the piece and hides it from the owl that has the piece it stole clutched between her talons and is tearing a piece off before eating it. Wow, this is actually amazing. Rumi says, grabbing a second piece to eat. We use bacon in a lot of things back home. My mother loved to make her own and she even taught me how. Izuku explains, handing some more pieces out to the others. If you're going to cook like this all the time, I'm going to try to get Lady Nana to make you immortal. Nimari comments, biting into another piece of bacon. Izuku hears the goddess chuckle to herself hearing Namori's comment. Holy crap, dude, what did you use for this? Kirishima asks as he almost inhales a piece whole. Sugar, salt, molasses and some spices. I smoked it with mango wood. Reminds me of the applewood smoked bacon from back home. Sato comments, taking a bite out of his piece. Is there anything else we should know that you do? Yu asks, with Izuku leading her over to where he and the girls cut up the boar. These back straps here are the tenderloin, the most tender and best part of an animal. Pork and beef tenderloin are staples of cooking back home. What's beef? Ochako asks. You know those large horned ox that are on the island? Think one of those, but a bit smaller and less hairy. Those are cows and you get beef from them. Izuku explains while Ochako makes an O face in understanding. Do you need more food, Momo? Nimari asks, turning to the exhausted Amazonian. I need rest and food to use my quirk more. Sweet fruits and sugar cane. She says. I think Izuku and someone else should be the only ones to go to the Dead Lands Shrine. More people will create more hazards. Especially if you have to deal with another Oni or Tengu. Or Nana forbid both. Rumi reasons as she takes a seat on the stump of a tree. Well, we're literally only needing to do that one in the Dead Lands and it kinda seems like a waste to do all but that one. So is there any chance we can find someone that knows where I need to go? I can take you. You spoke up to explain what she knew. Before it became the Dead Lands it is today, my family used to have good records of the area and knows where exactly the way shrine there is. If you want, I can lead you. You mean it? You're a lifesaver. Izuku smiled for you to be relatively embarrassed by this. If that's the case, we'll take you towards the Dead Lands. After, you're both on your own. Maruko said this before turning to the girls. You six have done a good job today. Head back home and take some time to rest. Yes ma'am. Once the 6 girls said goodbye to Izuku, they left for the village with Maruko, Yu, and Midnight leading Izuku to the Dead Lands. As they walked, Yu and Izuku started to place the hazmat suits on for the blonde Amazon to be rather irritated with the feeling of her entire body being covered while only the bare minimum is normally done. Once the group got to a spot where the land began to die around them, the group stopped. We're here. Up ahead is a land that has been turned into a horrid domain of death and calamity for generations. The closest we have is the map. You has to understand the area. Aside from that, I can't tell you what you'll face inside. Izuku was nervous, but understood that he needed to do this if he wants to finish the task he was given. Aizawa, who had tagged along, wanted to make some things clear. You have 2 hours from what I can tell before your suits stop working. You have until then to do what you need to and get out. Shouldn't be that hard since the landscape says we should be able to reach the Way Shrine in half an hour. Izuku and Yu started placing the face covering of the hazmat suits before walking in. As they did, Izuku took note of how much of the area was dead and decaying. He even noticed some animals were trapped inside. For it to be sorta depressing. Ever since I was a little girl, my mother has told me of how this place was deemed a horrible place to go and is one where many Amazon warriors who committed a crime punishable by death go in order to make amends for their acts. Coming here right now would be no different than saying we are committing a death wish. This comment scared the green-haired boy as Yu continued, pick up the pace please, I'd rather avoid being caught by whatever is inside here. Alright. They continued walking with a strange gray fog covering their ability to see. It began to get so horrid that they couldn't see anything outside of 3 feet from their face. This decrepit landscape had turned an otherworldly purple, the fauna were all dry and had turned gray with purple leaves. Bones of once massive and majestic creatures litter the landscape for miles around them. Despite their inability to see, the crunching of decayed bones and sloshing of decaying flesh beneath their feet was ever present. How much longer is the trip? We should be there in a few minutes if we keep walking this pace. Yu stated as the duo found themselves walking a tad longer before a silhouette of the Way Shrine was seen. Unlike the others where it was kept up and prominent to be an item of worship, this one was covered in dirt and some kind of black substance and with no evidence that it was cleaned for a very long time. What is this stuff? Izuku touched the black substance to see it was almost like some kind of tar or something similar. I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care. All I care about is doing what we need to and leaving. The green-haired boy didn't argue, knowing they didn't actually have time to sit around and find out. As Izuku was beginning to activate his quirk, the sound of some kind of bird was heard above them. The two jumped before seeing the black birds and realizing they were ravens. Damn birds. Ravens, huh? That can either be good or bad. Why do you say that? Yu asked for Izuku to clarify. Ravens, depending on what origin they have, can either be a prominent thing or one that can be very dangerous. From what I've heard, when a large number of them are in the same place, it can mean there's a strong amount of energy around someone. Whether it's good or bad is up in the air though. As Izuku went back to what he was doing, strange whispers were being heard for Yu to get somewhat scared. Izuku, how long will it take for you to cleanse this shrine? Shouldn't take more than a minute. The blonde woman saw something on the ground move to get her bow ready. Can you hurry it up please? I don't think we're alone in this area. Izuku finally had his power able to present itself outside of his hazmat suit before cleaning off some of the grime off the Way Shrine to start touching it. Get down. Izuku ducked before seeing an arrow go right at what looked like a half-decayed woman. What the hell is this thing? I don't know, but she's not alone. Izuku looked over to see an army of undead monstrosities rise up from where they were laying. What's going on here? The two heard the whisper to see some kind of black smoke or spirit move around the ground to a set of bones before restoring some of the flesh on it to become something similar to a zombie. So these things are some kind of monster like the Tangu and Oni that you faced. Yu pulled her bow back, aiming at a zombie Amazon's shoulder to strike it down. It only stopped her for a minute before the zombie pulled the arrow out of her shoulder to continue. Worse, these things aren't even alive anymore and are mindless monsters. We're literally facing an army of the undead. Izuku and Yu stood back to back prepared to attack. So what exactly are these things and how do we kill them? Well, they're either ghouls or zombies. It's honestly more a matter of how they're created is the major difference. Since they seem to come back to life by that black mist and that it's animals, chances are these are ghouls. You shot an undead Amazon in the head with an arrow for it to keep going. To make it simple, they won't die unless they have some holy silver or holy water doused on them. Izuku punched the corpse of a bear for the head to fall off. The body, however, kept moving for him to evade and use a machete. He had to slice the arms off. Damn it, you freaking ugly things. The Amazon woman began to start activating her quirk before Izuku stopped her. If you do that, the suit will tear and you'll be in bigger trouble. He grabbed her to bring her out of the circle they were trapped in before it became an issue. So what's the plan then? Good question. We need to think of something. If I can't get to the shrine, I can't purify the land. But the ghouls in front of us are preventing me. Not only that, but we need to be careful with these things and the suits. If I go full power here, then the suit could easily tear, with the same being said about you and her quirk. Not only that, but we have a time limit for how long we can stay in this before the suit's filtration system doesn't work anymore. We've got more company behind us. The two looked behind to see a bunch more undead Amazons and animals about to attack them. Hang on. Izuku grabbed you to carry her bridal style up and over the corpses with as low of a percentage of OFA as he could. This was able to prevent the suit from tearing, but didn't get them as far away as they wanted. What now? Run. An Amazon warrior never surrenders. You pulled her arrow back before seeing the vast enemy in front of her. She ran as fast as she could in front of Izuku with him making a quip. What was that about Amazon warriors never running? I said we'd never surrender. I didn't say we weren't suicidal or don't strategically withdraw. As they ran away, Izuku noticed a couple of things that could work to their advantage. I got an idea. Does it involve dying or facing those things directly? No and sorta. The two stopped for Izuku to take some rocks he's been using to light sparks. The forest around here is dead and rotting. We can start a fire to encase the ghouls inside it until we do what we plan to do. But to do that, you'll have to attract them all in a single place. I plan to run bait while you start a torch and light the area to the shrine before circling around the group as I'm in the middle taking them on. They heard the undead forces come closer to them with you panicking. But if you do that, you'll be stuck inside. Not if I get out right before you encase them. Izuku gave the rocks to the blonde Amazon before running headfirst into the incoming enemies. Wait, before you could do anything, Izuku left her alone. He ditched me. The little punk ditched me to fight corpses. She was somewhat enraged that Izuku left her alone in a forest literally of the dead, but somewhat impressed he's willing to take the more dangerous part of the plan. To be honest, that may have been kinda cool. It's not every day you get someone willing to put so much faith into you that he's about to. I should probably get moving now. Izuku found the army with them all connected together for him to begin charging up 1% of OFA. He began hacking at the army right away, dismembering them and leaving scattered limbs everywhere. Hey uglies, looking for me? The undead army began moving towards Izuku with the animals trying to claw or bite at him with them missing. The undead Amazons, however, were trying to cut his limbs off or use blunt objects to kill Izuku. They humanoid ghouls had their arms cut or their feet in order to keep them from overwhelming him before hopping on a mountain lion to hack at some other undead animals and jump off to land safely on a rock. I gotta keep their eyes on me so you can do what she needs to. You want dinner? Then you'll have to work for it. As Izuku did this, you came the long way around to begin lighting a dead tree branch on fire with the rocks. Okay, just calm down you can do this. She started hitting the rocks together before hearing Izuku's weapon clashing with others. Focus. He's a big boy. He can defend himself. The rocks started making sparks for it to finally light the branch. Awesome. She grabbed the burning branch before a corpse came from under the ground trying to grab her arm. You used the burning branch to attack the ghoul for it to catch fire and slowly burn. Take that, Walking Dead. You won. Undead 0. With that said, a light bulb came into her brain. I wonder if those other corpses are just as flammable as you are, fallen sister. Back with Izuku. Izuku was beginning to get overwhelmed by all the ghouls with there being no letting up on their end. They just won't quit. Finding a dead tree that was barely holding on, Izuku cut the roots, keeping it up for the tree to fall over several undead. Unfortunately, this didn't do much as more took the ones that fell's place shortly after. Pant, come on. Can't you at least give me a break? I'm fighting corpses with just a machete. Give me some chance here. Izuku, the green-haired boy, looked over to see the area to the shrine blocked off. Before he could do much, a ghoul nearly sliced his head off with an old sword for Izuku to start attacking the undead a bit more. Meanwhile, Yu ran as fast as she could to keep the undead trapped inside. She neared the part where they started for Izuku to acknowledge they needed to end this immediately. He ran as fast as he could to the end, hacking the way towards the exit. Unfortunately, his machete got stuck inside a ghoul for him to have no choice but to give it up and run as fast as he could. Yu tried to slow down for Izuku, but he refused it. Keep lighting it. If I can't get there, we need to keep these things in here. Yu was about to reach the final foot for Izuku to slide down in between her legs right before the circle was finished. You okay? Yu came over to see Izuku on the ground panting for air. Pant, I'm okay. Just a little out of breath. The blonde Amazon walked towards the fire circle they made before chucking the burning branch inside the trap to light all the ghouls on fire. How did you know the ghouls were flammable? Came across a corpse and unintentionally found out that they were. Izuku got back up to have Yu lead the way back to the way shrine. There, Izuku walked up to the shrine and wiped some of the smudge off of the small shrine to activate his quirk. This finally ended the nightmare they had to deal with. The pulse that happened turned the dead land into flourishing woods and the corpses returned to the ground as where they should lay. So everything's back to what it should be here. From what my family talked about, this is pretty much how the land looked before the dead lands were made. Thank God. Izuku collapsed on the ground and pulled his face covering for the hazmat suit off. He started to smile and laugh to make you curious as to why. At least this is all over. I'm exhausted. Yu pulled the face covering of her hazmat suit off to lay down beside Izuku. This was normal to you today. Enough for it to be somewhat tiring. Yu and Izuku laid on their backs to stare upwards to the sky. You know, I think you're kinda cool. Do you think if we were in the same world, we could be friends? I think we could. Izuku's eyes began to be heavy for him to start falling asleep. Yu glanced over to see Izuku fast asleep peacefully on the grass with a butterfly laying on his nose. He must be exhausted. If most of them were half as bad as that one, I'd be exhausted too. She laid back again with hoots coming from the sky to roost on the shrine. She seemed to be content with the fact Izuku was able to succeed to watch over the green-haired boy as he slept. Hoot, nicely done, Izuku. Few hours later, Izuku and Yu returned to the village where the girls had rushed him. They began to tackle him, making sure he was all right before letting him back up. So how did it go? Maruko came up towards Izuku for him to smile. The dead lands are returned to what they once were. Nicely done, kid. Gotta admit, I was sorta hesitant that you were able to get that one. But you proved me wrong, and for that myself and all the Amazons are grateful for you to restore land that was destroyed to what it should be. We also saw that some of the wildlife was returning to it. Definitely prefer that over what we saw inside. Yu shook in fear, remembering the undead monsters that she noticed inside the black mist. Oh yeah, that kanabo and halberd you discovered was presented to the Amazons and is put inside the home you live in as a type of trophy. Awesome. The group continued to walk towards Maruko's home where they sat and discussed their next step. Since none of the Amazons exactly knew what the plagues were, they were grasping at straws of what they're facing. So has Lady Nana contacted you yet of what we're facing in regards to the plagues? Sorry, but she hasn't spoken to any of us recently. As far as we're aware, you're grasping at straws on that one. The only thing I can tell you is that there are areas where we don't go and that you might find some there. Other than that, we'll unfortunately find out when we cross that bridge. Maruko explained as her tent opened to a girl with vines for hair with some covering her left eye. My apologies, Lady Maruko. I thought you were alone. The girl stopped when she saw Izuku to immediately start bowing to Izuku. My apologies, Lord Izuku. I had not known you were meeting with our chieftain. No problem, Miss Shiozaki. Abara Shiozaki. You may call me what you feel comfortable with. Izuku blushed a bit while being told this. Oh okay, Abara. It's nice to meet you. The Vine girl blushed at this for Maruko to let her inside the room to sit beside Izuku. Oh yeah, you two never met before. Izuku, this is Abara. She's part of the second set of Amazon warriors that are the girls' ages here. She's also the next to inherit my role as head chieftain of the Amazons. When I can no longer do so. So she's like your successor. Maruko nodded. She also was chosen to be an acolyte of Lady Nana. Abara turned to pull her hair up to reveal a silver left eye as an indication. No way. I hope you are well where you are. If there is anything you need, please tell me and I shall do what I can to assist. Thank you, Abara. She blushed at this before Maruko continued their conversation where they left off. Anyway, we have a new thing that must happen. Which is, the Amazons will look into having another ritual for 3 more members of the tribe to be impregnated. Everyone went silent for Momo to ask. Who will be part of the ritual this time? Midnight, you and myself. This was a decision we made in hopes of solidifying any unease with the current head of the Amazons being impregnated. The ceremony is tonight, so you should be prepared for that. Okay, I'll do that. The group walked out with Izuku completely silent. When they got enough of a distance away, the OFA quirk user finally commented. What the hell, I'm going to do that with 3 adult women. The girls held their ears for Izuku to question just how far he'll have to go. I had witnessed the first ritual myself. If I had not seen it to believe it, I wouldn't have thought Lady Nana blessed you with her mark. Abara said this while walking back with them. But that doesn't mean I'll sleep with just anyone. My personal morals forged it. You did that with all of us, so why would our top warriors be different? Mina said this for Yojiku to sigh and accept his life as is for now. Alright, I guess I don't have a choice. It's just, where I am from there's a whole process to this. You go on dates where you learn about your partner, then as time goes on you start spending more and more time with them until you begin to live together. I know I've been tasked with fathering the next generation of Amazonians, but I feel like I'm taking advantage of you all, or you are of me. I don't know. It doesn't feel right for someone to say, hey, I want a kid because a supreme being said you're the tribe husband now. As attractive as you all are, I don't like feeling like some lust-compelled sex deviant that puts his dick in any woman who wants to have a kid because a literal god told him to. Do not consider it as something like that. We of the tribe understand the gravity of this situation we are in right now and are willing to do what is needed. Abara points this out for Izuku to still feel uneasy about his decision. Can we at least have a marriage ceremony and not a whole bang this woman in front of an audience of hundreds type deal? I shall discuss this with Maruko then if you truly wish me to. And no, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Abara. I was just venting. It is all right. Do not worry, since we can at least try to make this less awkward for you. The Vine girl walked back to the head chieftain's office where she explained the possibility while Izuku went to his and the girl's home to rest for tonight. Izuku began walking towards the temple where the first ceremony was held, with the girls behind him talking about the future revolving around how to bring more children in. I'm just saying, we should ask Maruko if we could go pantsless so Izuku can just shove it in us. That sounds a little wrong from where I'm standing. That, and also I don't think you can consider Izuku to just shove it in, as you say. He at least has some form of class. Momo's right, Mina. Izuku's a really nice guy that won't do this. Granted, it would work easier for us if we, Kyoka. Everyone shouted to have the aux cord quirk user stop. What? It's just a thought. Can we get off this conversation, please? I really don't want to wake up tomorrow and see every girl with nothing covering their bottom halves. Fine. You're the one with the thing between your legs. Just saying it'll be easier for you. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of being in a harem. I honestly wanted to just be a simple salaryman with a wife and a kid, maybe. Not some kind of savior of this world. So I guess I can't complain too much. The 7 came to the temple where the first ceremony happened, with the area being somewhat empty. Are we going to have a crowd like last time? Sue asked with Yukio coming over. Sorry, but this isn't going to be as open as the last. The women though know that this ceremony is happening with our head chief as well as Nimari and you. At least this isn't going to be an exhibition like last time. The dragon woman winced at Izuku's comment before they heard shouting. The fucking jackass is doing what? The sound of Bakugo was heard with the other guys coming beside him. So this is what this ceremonial center is. Quite an amazing geographical area, Iida said while they were led by Itsuka, Abara, and 5 other girls. Now remember the deal with why you're able to see this. This is so you all understand the situation we are in and don't do anything to initiate any problems. Abara said this before coming over to Izuku and smiling. It is nice to see you again, Izuku. Thanks. But what's happening? The ash blonde wouldn't shut up unless we brought him along to see what's happening. So just because we couldn't deal with his mouth anymore, we allowed these men to see what this ceremony is. Itsuka said this with Mineta beginning to shake. So we're actually going to see some sexy ladies get rammed in front of us. Hell yeah. Fortunately you won't be doing any of this. To be honest, I'm kinda happy. A small girl with what looked like a cap made out of a mushroom said while coming up to Izuku. So you're the infamous Izuku Midoriya that Itsuka and Abara are happy to see again. Nice to meet Yashroom. She smiled at Izuku with him not understanding who she was or any of the other girls. Allow me to introduce everyone. These are the other members of our group. You've already met me and Itsuka. The girl in front of you is Kanoko Komori. The black-haired curvy shorter one is Yui Kodai. The girl that looks like she's a spirit is Reiko Yanagi. The girl with long dark green hair is Setsuna Tokage. And last but not least, the girl that looks like she's part animal is Pony Tsunatori. Everyone said hello with the pervy duo of the guys gawking at Momo. She began making a wooden club to knock both of them over the head. Yeah, blah blah. Can we just get to the fucking part where Deku can't pleasure a bunch of bitches so I can get a good laugh? Bakugo was hit over the head with a giant hand to look back in rage. Which one of you fucking skanks did that? ? Itsuka glared at him with a hand twice the size of her with Yui behind her with what looked like pebbles in her hands. Hey, what are you gonna do with those? Shove them up your. Yui threw the pebbles for them to turn into giant boulders and nearly crush Bakugo to death. What the? Reiko then seemed to levitate the boulders that were the size of a normal human to chase the ash blonde around with them. Finally, Pony had shot her horns out to pin Bakugo to the ground and avoid him from causing any problems. That should help, I think. Izuku looked at the scene with stars in his eyes. Oh wow, you can make things grow in size. Is there a limit to their size or the amount you can do? Also, can it work in reverse? That levitation was amazing. Can you lift bigger things? Those horns are amazing. Do you do anything special to keep them in peak condition MMPH? Izuku was cut off by a stray hand covering his mouth. That at least stopped that. You're right, Itsuka. He is a walking book of questions. Not a bad thing since he's interested in us. The hand pulled off Izuku's face and returned to Setsuna's wrist. Well, I'm gonna get nice and comfy for this show, Kanoko said while making a giant mushroom to sit on and relax. So she can make mushrooms grow. More or less, Itsuka said with Yukio pulling Izuku up the staircase. When they got to the top, the dragon woman stripped Izuku of his clothes to put him in the garments for the ceremony. Can we please at least have me do this without someone else helping? ? Izuku glances over to see Maruko glance at him and smile. Looking good, Izuku. The image of the rabbit chief nearly having nothing to cover her body made Izuku look away in embarrassment before having somebody pull his head into their chest. Naughty boy you are. Getting all excited over our chieftain with her body exposed to you. Nimori said this for Izuku to go completely red, feeling the softness of the dark-haired woman's skin. Alright, you almost ready. Coming. You came out trying to tie her bandages over her chest up before falling and revealing her bare chest to make Izuku have a nosebleed. The four walked out to see the small group watching them from below. Alright, to make things simple, this will show a form of peace in our tribe. Our top warriors will be inseminated with Izuku's seed and give the next generation. Those that are watching from our tribe that have not done the ritual yet, your turn will come. And to the men, you better stop pissing me off with going after him or trying to get in our way of keeping our way of life alive. Fuck you, rabbit bit off. Bakugo was shut up by Momo hitting him over the head with a giant tree branch. Sorry Kachin, but you get what you deserve. Time to get down to business. Strip, damn it. Why does my life end up like this? As Izuku walked back down towards the group, he was ransacked by both Mineta and Bakugo ready to kill him. Deku, you bastard. How dare you knock up 3 bitches before I could? Life isn't fair. At least give me the loincloth. Ew. The girls shouted in unison with Ochako using her quirk to pick Izuku up. You all know the deal now. Nobody hurts Izuku, and if you do. Kyoka used her ox cords to stab Mineta's eyes out and make him crawl on the ground crying. Any questions? Aizawa raised his hand. Please tell me that Midoriya doesn't have to deal with this every night. Fortunately he lives with us to pull some strain off. Mina says this in a positive statement. But that doesn't mean we don't take care of his morning wood, as Mitsuki calls it, ribbit. I'm out then. Aizawa walked away, not wanting to hear more, as everyone else went their separate ways to rest for the night. Deep beneath the water, at the temple underneath the island and sea level where the ancient lich was meant to hide, there were 8 statues down the submerged walkway, speaking as it seemed with glowing eyes. Each had the shape of a ghastly creature that is spoken of in legend. Our awakening has been stopped. Not stopped, but prolonged. That damned goddess meddling in our affairs again. Stay calm. This is only a minor setback. But I fear that this is the power of something else on the island. Something new that has come. The statues remained silent until a single statue that looked like a mythical dragon spoke. Doesn't matter to me. I'll find and kill this thing. By tomorrow evening, I'll be alive again. Just don't have all the fun. It's been too long since we've had some fun of our own. Dragon of Desolation. The statue chuckled a bit as the statues began to quiet down and wait for their inevitable revival. The morning after the second ceremony, with Izuku feeling once again waking up to the feeling of something between his legs. Every morning I wake up like this. He sighs before moving his head up. Alright, who's the person today? He stops when he notices a new face underneath. What the? It is nice to see you are awake, Izuku. The person today under the covers was Obara, with the girls watching her with a somewhat satisfied look. Why are you doing this? I had come to fetch you as to the order of Maruko, but I had watched everyone else do this, and well. Do you not like it? That's a hard question to answer. They continued this for a few more minutes before the door opened to Yukio walking in. Obara, what is taking you so long? Maruko fetched you to bring Izuku some time ago. She stopped when she noticed the Vine Amazon girl sitting up with some abnormal fluids dripping off her mouth. I don't think I wish to know what's happening. Clean yourselves up and follow me. The two nodded before heading out. As they headed towards the home of their chieftain, Obara seemed to be rather close to Izuku. Obara, could you possibly move to the side a little? It's a little difficult to walk. Very well. She moved a bit away for them to reach their destination. Our lady is waiting for you inside. The two entered for them to see Maruko eating a carrot while relaxing. So what took you both so long? Both were silent while Izuku held a giant blush. Did we get a new offspring made? No. Shame. Back to business. I'm sure you're aware that the Dead Lands are still rather unknown territory for our people, right? Both nod while the rabbit Amazon continued. Well, after they were cleared, I had a small group of Najire, Minami, and Psycho do a little digging into what's there. Izuku and Obara looked at her curious as she explained. For the most part, the area's kinda interesting since some plants we didn't know existed on the island sprouted up here. But what really caught our eye was the series of tremors that occurred last night and a silhouette of a large creature entering a cave. A cave. Maruko got into an upright position before continuing. Nobody was able to see what this thing was or what was actually in the cave. However, we did look at the cave itself to find that it wasn't exactly a cave made by natural occurrences. Wait, so this cave was created possibly by our ancestors? Most likely. My best guess, an earthquake or something put it underground with a more recent one bringing it back up. So now we have two things we're trying to figure out. What exactly is this cave and its purpose to our ancestors, as well as what this thing that went inside it is? This could possibly be one of the plagues that we're dealing with. But I don't know anything about them, so I'll have to ask Hoots if she knows anything about something of monstrous size that could be a plague. If this is one of the plagues, then maybe putting together a small group of elite Amazons is worth the possibility to. Yeah, you completely lost me on what you're saying now, kid. Izuku realized he was on a mutter spree to immediately stop. Sorry. Maruko took another bite of her carrot before continuing. So first off, I don't wanna fight something we don't even know about. So I'm putting together a small team of people that can see what exactly this cave is and what we're dealing with before doing anything. In that group will be the two of you, Tomoko from my group, and Kyoka, since the two of them know how to find out about what's in their surroundings rather well. Your jobs are to make sure that if there's any danger, you deal with it the best way you can. But I'm saying this as a precaution more than anything. Don't fight this thing if you can avoid it. If something bad happens, get out of the cave. You four are more useful to us alive than dead, and I'd rather keep any issues we have to a minimum. Any questions? Both shake their heads no. Good. You leave in an hour. Both bow and leave the house and start walking back to Izuku's and the girls' home. That comment at the end was kinda blunt. Perhaps, but she is correct. She'd rather us take the safest route as opposed to try and be suicidal. We hold honor by dying in battle, but that doesn't mean we are stupid and will fight anything for honor and glory. Izuku understood this a bit while trying to think of what they might be facing. I wonder what this thing is. 1 hour later, Izuku and the group began walking towards the former dead lands for Tomoko to look around in awe. Oh wow, this is so amazing. She stopped at basically every new plant she could to marvel at the unique botanic life. So pretty. Wow, amazing. Can we take this seriously, please? I don't know what's in this cave and you doing this is kinda creepy. Kyoka asks for Tomoko to completely ignore her while watching a different animal she didn't see before bathe in a stream. Wow, this thing looks so much different than what we have on the island. Can you at least acknowledge I said something? Let her be, Kyoka. It's not worth the migraine. Izuku says this while seeing the enormous cave. Whoa, that's a big entrance. They all stop and marvel that the cave is big enough to let you inside it in her giant form and not have to crouch down. So this is the cave they were talking about. Izuku placed his hand on the side of the cave to feel it's completely smooth. Maruko was right. This cave isn't natural. What do you mean? Tomoko asked for Izuku to give an explanation. When caves are formed naturally, the rock formations are rarely ever smooth and are normally rough and rugged. If you feel the side, you can tell that this entrance was carved and almost perfectly formed. That's not natural in nature unless this was underwater for millions of years, but the rocks don't look that old. So any ideas as to what this was meant to be? The ox-cored Amazon asks for Abara to give her theories. This was either made as a way to a temple of worship from our ancestors, or some form of den for something. Well then, let's check it out. Tomoko started walking in before Kyoka grabbed her. Remember what's inside. We need to be careful. Kyoka is correct. We can't take this without caution. Keep your focus on your surroundings and don't do anything reckless. The four walked into the dark area with Izuku making a torch for them to see. This place is kinda dark. Don't you have spotlights for eyes? Why don't you just use those? I have no idea how to turn it on and off. The four continued down before they saw what looked like light. Is this an exit? Couldn't be. We're down under sea level. The only way this is an exit is if there's a trench somewhere on the island that reaches down this far. Kyoka says this for them to come across the light and what was in the area. When they saw what was in front of them, they were baffled. It's a temple. Izuku knelt down to what looked like a way shrine to see the man in the one he found with Itsuka some time back. This has to be a temple dedicated to Toshinori. Who? The three asked for the OFA user to try and explain. To make a long story short, he was a deity like Lady Nana as well as her son. Men existed on this island. You learn something new every day. Tomoko says this before sensing a massive creature. Hey, check it out. The lighting is coming from those crystals that are creating fluorescent light. Izuku and Abara looked up to marvel at the crystals. Hey everyone, I'm sensing something big and kinda scary feeling down that way. Tomoko says this for everyone to follow her to what she senses. When they got to the area where the unknown thing is, they found a broken part inside the temple. Izuku moved his head inside to see a room filled to the brim with treasure. Unbelievable. He walked in with the girls following. This was under us the entire time. The girls rummaged through everything to see it was a room stuffed almost to the brim with gold and riches practically. Izuku looked at some of the carvings to find that some of the stuff inside was arguably 1,000 years old. To think something like this was able to last out the times. Truly a marvel. Izuku, I think we should leave. Abara says this for her to go pale. Why? She points to the side and shows a massive beast that resembled that of a dragon from stories of old. Is that a dragon? Yes. The size of the beast was unimaginable for the four to know that they're no bigger than the size of one of its teeth. Guess this was what we were dealing with. Let's try and leave. Tomoko says this for everyone to start backing away. In the act, Hyoka accidentally hits a crumbling support pillar only for it to fall over and cause a loud crash to be heard. Oh crap baskets. The beast's eye immediately opened to see Izuku and the Amazons to sit up. It glared down at them with a very angry face before breathing in. Run. Abara shouts this for them to get out of the room before a massive wave of fire comes out. The act nearly burned them all as they continued to run for the exit. As they continued to run, the dragon followed them roaring for them to stop. What now? Hyoka screams before the dragon releases another blast of fire to come at them. To try and help, Izuku grabbed the girls and ran as fast as he could with the fire coming after them. We're gonna die, Tomoko screamed with the feeling of the fire being on Izuku's back. They finally made it to the surface and kneeled down from the blast. The green-haired boy panted heavily with the giant beast coming out and taking to the skies. What now? The dragon blasted another wave of fire to create an inferno that rips through the forest. This isn't good. Abara witnesses the destruction while Izuku pulls out his Naginata and Tangu mask. I'm gonna try to stop it. The rest of you go and tell Maruko what's going on. But what about you? I'll be fine. But we need to stop the fire and this dragon before it becomes a problem. Izuku placed the Tangu mask over his face before heading over to the monstrous beast. In a moment, a massive murder of crows came at the dragon with them targeting the webbing in its wings. This damaged the fine membrane and forced the dragon to land. When it did, Abara trapped it in several vines in order to restrict its movements. My vines are made with quite a bit of moisture in them. It will take more time to take care of them. The monstrous beast began ripping and tearing the vines off with its teeth and claws for the act to do next to nothing. So much for giving you some time. That did a lot, thank you. Izuku ran over to jump on the dragon's back. He ran over and sliced the rest of the webbing off the dragon to make the damage done the bare minimum to the area around them. I guess mythical dragons exist. I'm gonna have to find out more about you when I get the chance. Gaining altitude inside the murder of crows, Izuku spins the Naginata in his hand to where he's using it as a spear. The crows move their way to sustain his footing as he rides on the crows. Gaining on the dragon, it turns and stares at the Tengu-faced warrior, an evil grin across its face and a large sickly scar across his right eye. Both stagnate in the air staring each other down, waiting for the other to make the first move. Foolish. Mortal. The dragon bellows staring at the green-haired warrior floating above the murder of crows. All who have faced me have perished. What a fool to come to face me. I am fire. I am death. At speeds unfathomable for something his size, the dragon bolts directly at Izuku, its underbelly changing color and turning a deep orange. Seeing this as the warning before the flames, he commands the crows to bank a hard left away from the life of literal fire. The torrents of dragonfire spray from the maw of the beast singing a couple of the crows that were too slow to get out of the way of the beast. Like a flying snake, it slithers through the clouds, moving in such a manner that one would argue it was on the ground. This time, Izuku decides to make the attack. Using gravity to his advantage, he drops from the crows causing the dragon to fall and chase him. Just before hitting the tree line, he shifts into another mass of birds and flies parallel to the trees. The dragon has no time to react to the change in direction and slams face first into the ground, leaving a crater and shockwave that flattens some of the trees in the area. Meanwhile, the girls have successfully made it back to the village and are raising the alarm to the presence of the dragon on the island. Maruko quickly moves to get all her best warriors to go and assist Izuku, but the elder stops them. Chiyo Shuneji quickly explains that only demonic weapons can scratch the hide of the dragon and that they would only be a liability in the crossfire of the two. The others' hearts sink into their stomachs learning of how powerless they are to assist in fighting the dragon. Momo however decides that her group can at least pose as a distraction to allow Izuku to land a few blows. Back with the fight, Izuku quickly lands in front of the dragon in the flattened area of trees. The size of the beast is something he hardly can comprehend. The size of a walking mountain with teeth the size of buildings, he shakes in his boots seeing the sheer scale of the creature. The beast smiles maliciously at the fear in Izuku's face. How pitiful. You truly are the best to face me. The Tangu must have lost its strength to be defeated by the likes of you. The dragon began to breathe in with its chest glowing orange again to symbolize it was ready to attack again. I guess I don't have a choice. Izuku changed his mask to that of the Oni and ran up to the beast taking a breath in. It shot its fire at Izuku while Izuku did the same. Lung-wise, the dragon had the advantage, but Izuku was able to evade the flames until it got under the monster's feet. I shall enjoy killing you, boy. The beast sent its tail at Izuku for him to jump up and run up to the back of the dragon. You'll die trying. He breathed in one last time with the dragon sending flames at him again. Once more, the two were at a small impasse before Izuku went towards the wings. With his naginata, he was able to slice the right wing off to ground the monster permanently. This angered the beast to try and bite Izuku off. There, he found that the monster's left eye was missing where it was supposed to be. He breathed in to shoot fire into the socket and cause extreme pain to come upon the dragon. You pathetic bastard, I shall take great satisfaction on ripping your flesh off your body and feasting on your bones. Izuku jumped down to see the chest glow again. He was about to attack it before a storm of arrows came at the two for the OFA quirk user to use the dragon as a shield. Hey lizard breath. Izuku looked over to see the 6 girls along with some others from the village with arrows ready to shoot at the dragon. If you wanna kill Izuku, you're going to have to go through us. Momo shouted with the group shooting their arrows again. Adorable. They think they can hurt me. The dragon breathed in yet again for Izuku to panic. I gotta stop him. He ran up to the chest with the light almost to a point it's unable to be seen directly. In one slash, Izuku cut from the top of the chest downwards for the flames that were going to be shot out to leak out and directly where Izuku was for him to almost get covered in flames. Your fight is with me, asshole. Got it. The fact the dragon's chest was sliced open did not sit well with the beast as he now could not hold the anger for Izuku back any longer. You are a weak insect, you filthy mortal. How dare you cut me? Izuku ran as fast as he could near the entrance of the cave again with the dragon hot on his tail. Where did that bravado go, you weakling? Did that fade away when you tried to attack my eyeless socket? Or was it when you tried to cut my heart out? Almost there. Izuku got to the entrance with the giant stalactite above still where he saw it before. Now came the issue of getting up above to take it down. You're dead, boy. The dragon tries to eat Izuku in one bite for him to jump up and onto the beast's body. He uses his brute strength to pull one of the spikes on the dragon's spine off with OFA to twist and barely manage to rip the piece off. I am done playing games with you, puny human. So am I. He used the spike to throw directly at the stalactite to break it enough where the weight came down directly at the dragon's eyeless socket. This leveled the beast with Izuku rushing to the chest. He opened the flesh that was gaping to see the dragon's still beating heart inside. You filthy mongrel. The dragon came at Izuku with intent to rip him in two with Izuku thrusting his naginata into the heart as quickly as he could. The dragon was about to bite down and rip his upper body apart before stopping. The strike to the heart had made the beast unable to move and slowly lose its life. Seeing the beast fall back, Izuku pulled the blade out of its heart and got covered in blood while doing so. He won, but just by milliseconds. Izuku. He came out of his brush with death seeing the girls come over and tackle him in a hug. Hey, I'm okay, said between breaths. He couldn't move at the point in time feeling himself mentally exhausted from the fight with Hoots coming over to roost on the dragon's horns. Hoot Hoot, congratulations on defeating a plague Izuku. What's Hoots saying? Kyoka asked, confused. She's congratulating me. Nana, I'm tired. Izuku replies trying and finally catching his breath. Guess you're alive. Not bad, kid. Maruko walked into the cave laughing with Izuku, somewhat annoyed with the lack of help from them. What the shit? Thanks for the lack of help. Not even like we'd be able to help. The only person that actually could have done something to that thing is you. Only weapons that are demonic in nature can harm a dragon. Izuku looked at Hoots for an answer for some truth for her to nod. Sorry then. He fell back looking up at the top of the cave still unable to move for the time being. Hey guys, do dragons glow when they die? Setsuna asked seeing the dragon glow green before the energy shot into Izuku to make his body glow green as well. This is new. Maruko had no words to say other than this as they witnessed Izuku begin to become less luminescent. What was that? Izuku looked at his hands to not feel significantly different except for a little more energy inside him. Not sure. Hoots. You have any ideas? The bird shook no for them to just think this was some kind of fluke. Well anyway, what do we do about the dragon? My family knows a mean lizard stew I've been dying to try for a long time. The meat won't go to waste. Tomoko says this with a bit of drool coming off her mouth thinking of the feast at hand. Okay, the boars were one thing but seriously. This thing literally almost ate me in one bite and nearly destroyed the island. Can't we do something besides eating it? That's why I'm here. Hatsume came over to feel the scales of the dragon and marvel at the firmness. These scales will make armor worthy for our goddess if done correctly. As the head of smithing for the tribe, I call dibs on the scales and teeth. Maruko looked at Izuku with a smirk. Any other arguments? He was about to open his mouth, but decided not to and just go back to the treasure trove they found before to see what was inside a little better. The girls followed along since they heard what they found from Kyoka. To say they were shocked by the items in the room was an understatement. Amazing. This is so cool. It's like a gallery of luxuries. Ribbit ribbit. Izuku continued to look around before noticing something on a pedestal. An egg. Izuku was going to touch it before it started to crack. Girls, what comes out of huge eggs here? What kind of egg is it? I don't know. They walked over to see the shell start to break open and reveal a small green head. The rest of the shell came off for it to reveal itself as a baby dragon. It came off the pedestal and began to climb up on Izuku's head and sprawl out. It thinks you're its mother. The girls started to laugh as the small dragon made little effort to move. Well, this is interesting. First I have an owl only I can hear, now I've got a dragon that thinks I'm its mommy. The girls laughed a bit before the dragon sneezed fire out and nearly lit Izuku's hair on fire. This'll be fun. They decided to walk out to the rest of the Amazons again to see them pulling the carcass of the dragon away in pieces with the skin being carved off. There, Yukio and Midnight had overseen the events with Maruko being allowed to return home to begin the preparations for the food coming as well as the new armor to be forged. Seems you've accomplished quite the feat today, Izuku. Yukio stopped when noticing the small reptile on the green-haired boy's head. Why do you have a lizard on your head? Not a lizard. Dragon. Oh, that makes things much better. She states this with sarcasm as Midnight sees some of the Amazons take the stalactite as well. Why are they taking the rock too? Ochako asked for Midnight to explain. Turns out, that stalactite has some strong minerals in it. We merge that with the dragon's blood and we'll have a major boost in strength. Nice job, Izuku. This success really is worthwhile. The OFA user started to blush a bit from the compliment and laugh. Thanks. It was nothing though. They walked out to return home and hopefully have some form of rest as the evening would be just as hectic as it was before. Back at the tribe, Izuku walked through the gates to see the guys returning from their day on the beach trying to put together a raft. They saw the green-haired boy with Bakugo immediately going over pissed beyond pissed for some reason. Deku, you bastard. Where the fuck were you today? He looked up to see the small dragon looking him eye to eye. What the fuck are you supposed to be? The small beast bit Bakugo's nose to cause it to swell with everyone somewhat laughing at this. Next time, don't anger a dragon. Up top, Sparks. Izuku held a finger up for the dragon to tap it with his front paw. Sparks. Momo asked for Izuku to explain. Cause he sparks things with his fire. Whatever that thing is, keep it the fuck away from me. Bakugo said this with his nose covered to sound even more stupid than he normally would. Sparks, wanna show him why you've got that name? Sparks breathed in, causing its chest to glow green before a green fireball was shot out at Bakugo to light his pants on fire. It burns. It burns. Not that I condone violence, but I like this dragon. Aizawa smirked as the little creature gave probably the closest thing to a thumbs up at the teacher. As Izuku and everyone gained some much-needed rest, Maruko decided to return to the underground temple thanks to Mandalay and Pixie Bob finding something she'd want to see. Walking into the giant cave, she noticed the remains of the battle had finished being cleaned up as well as the riches inside were cleared for the most part. Maruko, over here. Pixie Bob shouted for her leader's attention for her to walk up the steps of the strange temple inside. Once there, She was met by Midnight, Yukio, Ragdoll and you as well. So what did you find? After clearing out the gold and the body of the dragon as well as the stalactite that had strong minerals inside, we started to study the work done on this temple. Such as its main form of creation, the type of stone used and how it was carved, as well as the... Get to the point, Shino. I'm not here for a history lesson. The red-colored cat girl cleared her throat while getting to what she found out. This place was made through our own form of stone carving and innovation. To put it simply, our ancestors had to be the ones to make this temple. I could have told you that. There's only a few that actually could have done this, and that list doesn't even have more than the 5 fingers on my hand. Maruko then looked and saw this isn't the end of what Mandalay had to say. What else though? This. Mandalay pushed a statue that seemed to be able to move easily out of the way. Everyone walked into the secret room with you making a torch. This room was made from what I can tell by the stone structure before the rest of the temple. Whatever is in here is definitely something our ancestors wanted to keep hidden for some reason. As they continued inside, a dark and chilling feel was upon them. It was as if the life in their soul was being suffocated by some form of deep eternal darkness that was almost endless. This place gives me the creeps. I know the feeling you. I don't wanna be here either. You'd rather be cuddling Izuku, wouldn't you, Nimori? Don't give me that pixie bob. You're the one that wants to have a night with him like I did. Will you all shut up? Right now isn't the time for this bull crap. I have the feeling we're being watched. Maruko said, with everyone now having the sensation of eyes on them. They finally reached the end of the long and almost endless hallway for you to find some holsters for torches. Sweet. She lit the torches, causing a giant wave of fire to crawl around and light up the room. The women looked at their blonde friend who held her hands in a defensive position. I swear that I had no idea that would happen. They continued in with Yukio finding a shelf full of books. What do we have here? She looked through the book to find that it was about their island as well as the history behind it and the dark evil that plagues it. As she read through the book, the others with her explored the room. As they looked through, Ragdoll noticed something about one of the 9 painted figures that were inside the room. Isn't this the same dragon that Izuku just killed not that long ago? Can't be. Pixie Bob looked over to the painting for her green-haired friend to point at the eye. It's missing an eye like the dragon before, and it's even the same species as from what I saw. Are you all seeing this? Mandalay asks, holding a torch towards the darker part of the room. Along a pathway to a blood-stained altar, 9 pedestals sat across from each other, 4 to one side of the hall and the other 5 to the other. Each pedestal carved from the obsidian created by the volcano. One of them was crumbled and the object that was sitting on it was shattered. The only recognizable thing left was a bat-like wing. Near the shattered one was a strange amorphous being sat atop the obsidian pedestal, 5 heads leered away from a grotesque body. 6 heads in the shape of clawed hands with split vertical mouths running along the center of the palms, and the center head that of a human man, its hair decayed and stale, and another fleshy hand covering its face aside from its mouth. As they bring the torch closer, the statue turns and looks at them, causing the Amazons to freeze and for 2 of them to draw their weapons. What the fuck is that? Maruko asks, letting the influence of Bakugo's sailor's mouth slip out. I don't know, but I think it would be wise if we left this place. Yukio asks, feeling every instinct inside her say to leave now before she'd regret it. We still need answers, Yukio. That book is probably all we have, but maybe there are names here. Maruko responds, looking at a set of symbols written in an ancient and evil language under the statue. Across from her, another statue in the shape of a horned devil turns and looks at her, this one emblazoning in blue fire, altering the other Amazons. We should go. Ragdoll stutters as Maruko writes down the symbols of the name. Just let me get a few more of these and we'll head out. I normally don't get scared that easily, but I think Ragdoll is right about this. I have a bad feeling about this. Midnight felt the hair on the back of her neck rise as if something was going to pop out and attack. Just relax. I'm almost done. They stood ready before the feeling of something moving towards them was felt in a dark corner. Everyone was preparing for a fight before Maruko got up and began pulling her sword out. I don't know who you are, but we aren't to be trifled with. There was a silence before the shadows showed a smile that could easily be seen as wicked. Yoff. Tmy Zerwaviwer. Yoff Wmafdv Diag. Biori Sai Tal WFPY Haffer WAFDW. A chorus of disembodied whispers echo through the ancient and cursed tomb, the torch sconces flickering out, drowning the room in darkness. What is that? Ragdoll asks, seeing a silhouette move against the volcanic glass on the wall. I can't see anything. Yukyu stammers, her voice full of fear. Lia GZMUW edit. Kassir ULOYIR. Is ALDH of YDWPY. Exclamation mark quote. The disembodied voice booms throughout the cave, the language that of the damned and the deceived. The infernal words erupt the torches from their sconces in a sickly green fire, revealing the form of the creature's head for a mere second. A large hand with a mouth in the palm is in front of them, attached to a long spindly appendage that leads off into the darkness seemingly to no end. As they turn to leave, the shadow of the being that is on his resurrection appears in the flash of a thunderbolt. A large imposing man draped in decaying robes with no face inside the hood covering his head. It was there for mere moments, but it was more than enough to ingrain the image into their heads. Chiemery UW la YWTIEY. Ad sud KYIWWHPUDIZYV. The ghost bellows before vanishing. Rumi, we need to leave this place now. Pixie Bob practically shouted for the rabbit woman to nod. Yeah, I think that was a more than worthwhile reason to leave. The group of 7 walked out, still very shaken to the point they almost ran out the room before trying to calm their nerves. Once outside, they shut the statue in front of the room and chose to leave before anything worse happened. There is no way I'm going back in that room again. Just what the hell was that thing? I think that was the next plague, Maruko says, showing them the symbols she had written down on a parchment paper. The symbols had turned to blood, reading, the incarnation of deceit itself. The devourer of man. Well, if that isn't fucking ominous as all hell, we should head back to the village. Maybe Chio or someone knows what it is. Nobody fought and wanted to leave the cave and forget this whole event ever happened. Little did they know, a being in the shadows, hanging upside down in a tree, was watching with delight. So those are my sisters of this time. I'll enjoy this. With Izuku standing with alarm, he looks about for the location of the disembodied whispers. Unlike the Amazonian leaders, his gift from Nana herself allowed him to hear everything the entity had spoken in perfect English. You, the trespassers, you should leave, before we consume your souls. The first of the whispers spoke. Some of the Amazons had heard this and were also looking around, but they only heard the insane and evil garbles and moans of the Forsaken Tongue. The second garnered everyone's attention as it was shouted from the jungle and seemingly came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Leave this place. Cower in fear. It only fuels me. He once again hears the chorus of voices sharing a mixture of fear, despair, anger and hatred all at the same time. The last was a different voice. A single male voice, but one that sounded as if it had been dead for eons. It spoke only 2 phrases and it was enough to make his heart race. There is no escape. All will be assimilated. This voice was undoubtedly the voice of the Lich. Did you hear those voices too? Momo asks, turning to Izuku, who was standing up and looking into the jungle. Yes, but I understood what they were saying. The first 2 phrases were spoken by many voices, the second was the Lich. Izuku says, alerting the other girls sitting around the fire where they had been preparing the dragon meat for lunch. What did it say? Mina asks, almost too afraid to say the words. The Lich said that there is no escape. All will be assimilated. Izuku responds, those same haunting words causing a supernaturally cold wind to pass through the area. Under their feet they feel the ground shaking. Izuku quickly looks back to the jungle and sees Yu towering over the foliage, rushing as quickly as possible with the other Amazonian women that had gone with, holding onto her shoulders and hair for dear life. He, instinctively, rushes over to greet them, seeing that Maruko is the furthest along with the eldest of his many offspring. What happened? Izuku shouts as they make it back and Yu shrinks back down to her original size. We found the tomb. We found the tomb of the Lich, or at least an altar of some sort. Midnight explains before detailing what they had seen to Izuku. I think the resurrection might be sooner than we once thought. Can you describe what you saw on those pedestals? One looked like a blob with lots of hands and a main head with another hand over the face. Another was shattered and it was that of the same dragon you defeated. The third looked like a devil with long wings and curled horns. The fourth one we only glimpsed and couldn't really see any details of it. Maruko replies before showing Izuku the name she had written down and the sketch she had drawn of it. Do you have any idea what this can be? No, not at all. He responds looking at the drawing. I do know what was said in the language. That was infernal. The language of demons, he says before translating what each phrase meant to them. Once again when he spoke the phrase said by the lich the air grew supernaturally cold, to the point where they could see their own breath for a few moments. I don't think we should go and repeatedly say what the ghost had spoken. I don't know if saying its name or what it says is gonna make things worse. Maruko says with a look of unease present on her and the other Amazons' faces. I'll have to look into the Book of Myths and commune with Nana. Perhaps she will know the identity of this next plague. Hoot hoo hoo hoo, hoot hoo hoo hoo, be wary. The next of the plagues is a trickster. If it consumes you, everyone will forget who you are. Hoots says to Izuku from her perch on the tree. Hold on, Hoots just told me something. Don't let it eat you, if it does everyone will forget who you are. To be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and please hype this video. Now we will see you in the next video.